Chapter 47-41. Ren Zhongyuan and the others couldn't help but regret secretly. It would be great if they didn't part ways with this kid. Maybe the Thunder Xianrot Tan wouldn't have fallen into this kid's hands. Instead, it would have been theirs. The longevity route that the three of them had worked so hard to get was simply a street good compared with the Thunder Xianrot Tan. But it was useless to regret now. They couldn't do anything except drool at this time. Fortunately, since Lin Yi was bound to be the first, it meant that he would soon become Ning Shangling's son-in-law. Once he became West Island's son-in-law, he would definitely have nothing to do with Hu Yudi. This was Rin Zhongyuan's only self-comfort. However, at this moment, the two underlings standing behind him, Liu Zhou and Sun Baolu, saw this scene and wanted to say something, but stopped on second thought. Hu Yudi didn't come out before, and it wasn't an exaggeration to say that her life and death were unknown. Therefore, the two of them felt that there was no need to add to Rin Zhongyuan's troubles. So they didn't say what they saw in the trial ground before. But now, not only did Hu Yudi come out, even her wild man came out with her. The two of them had to let Rin Zhongyuan know. Otherwise, if this matter were to be exposed in the future, and Ren Zhongyuan found out that they had been cuckolded for so long because of the two of them hiding it, he would definitely flip out on the spot. The two of them couldn't bear Rin Zhongyuan's monstrous anger. Brother Rin, there's something we have to tell you. You have to hold on, Liu Zhou said cautiously. What's the matter? Rin Zhongyuan looked back at the two of them, who wanted to say something, but stopped on second thought. He couldn't help but frown. If you have something to say it quickly. Ugh, that's fine. Brother Rin, you must hold on. Liu Zhou whispered and then gave Sun Baolu a look, motioning him to speak. Brother Rin, in fact, Hu Yudi has already hooked up with a man named Lin Yi. We saw her and Lin Yi having sex in broad daylight in the trial ground before. This is a real adulterous couple. Sun Baolu said bluntly. What the F***ck are you talking about? Ren Zhongyuan slapped Sun Baolu without saying anything. Sun Baolu spun around 3 times from the slap. He saw stars and almost fainted. It wasn't that Ren Zhongyuan didn't believe them. It was just that this matter was simply impossible. Who was Hu Yudi? She was one of the Eastern continent's prideful pair. She was a pure and innocent girl. How could she casually hook up with a man? What kind of F***king hookup? This kid's brain must be filled with sperm and dreaming. We're not talking nonsense. We took a photo. Hurry up and show it to Brother Rin. Sun Baolu covered his swollen mouth with one hand and looked at Ren Zhongyuan pitifully while urging Liu Zhou to take out the evidence. Under Rin Zhongyuan's murderous gaze, Liu Zhou hurriedly took out his digital camera. After fiddling with it for a while, he found the photo he had taken at that time and carefully handed it to Rin Zhongyuan. Rin Zhongyuan took it and looked at it. He was stunned. Although this photo was not particularly clear, it was enough to distinguish the two protagonists in it. Who else could it be but Hu Yudi lying on it? Looking at the unrestrained positions of the two people in the photo, he watched helplessly as his goddess actually hooked up with a man. Rin Zhongyuan's whole heart was cold. In an instant, he was disheartened and even had the thought of dying. Yo, I didn't expect this Miss Hua to look so pure. I didn't expect her to be so open. What a pity. Yi Xiaotian, who was next to him, came over and took a look. He couldn't help but swallow his saliva. He had also coveted Hu Yudi for a long time. TSK, I have long said that she is a woman. Senior Brother Rin, you didn't believe me before. Now seeing is believing. Yao, Jilly didn't miss the opportunity to gossip. Hua Yudi had always been high and mighty in front of them, a goddess who didn't eat the food of mortals. Now, she was finally beaten back to her original form. She was just a shameless slut. Slut, slut, slut. Rin Zhongyuan was so angry that smoke came out of his head. He gritted his teeth and looked at the adulterous couple, Lin Yi and Hu Yudi. At this moment, there were only 2 things in his mind. Kill Lin Yi and then kill Huayuti the bitch. It was a pity that this was the territory of West Island, and it was also the side courtyard of the summer palace under the watchful eyes of the public. No matter how angry Ren Zhongyuan was, he could only hold it back first. Otherwise, if he moved a little, he would be the first to be unlucky. Don't worry, Brother Rin. You don't have to kill to vent your anger. I have a way to embarrass this adulterous couple in front of everyone, so that you can vent your anger. Li Yuzhou rolled his eyes and suggested a plan. Do you really have a way? Although Ren Zhongyuan's eyes were still full of fire, he was still a little rational. Hearing this, he turned his head and looked at him. Li Yuzhou nodded repeatedly and whispered in Li Yuzhou's ear. Ren Zhongyuan nodded again and said with a face full of resentment, "Okay, I'll do as you say. Today, let everyone see the true colors of this adulterous couple, and then I'll find a chance to kill them." While they were talking, Ning Shangling had begun to announce the result in public. Although there was no suspense, she still had to go through the formalities. Everyone, after the cross-evaluation of a group of judges, I officially announce that the final winner of this West Island trial is Lin Yi from the North Island. There weren't any cheers or noises, but everyone looked at Lin Yi with envy, especially Kong Xiaoming's eyes that were filled with venom. Since he had won the West Island test, it was time to announce the more important show. According to the rules set at the previous birthday party, the winner of this West Island trial can become my daughter's future husband. Lin Yi, are you willing? Ning Shangling's eyes fell on Lin Yi, and there was a little imperceptible joy in her eyes. After all, he was the candidate she had been optimistic about for a long time. It was not an exaggeration to say that he was a dragon among men. What was more, he had a relationship with her daughter, and the two could be said to be a match made in heaven. Lin Yi glanced at Ning Xuefei, who was so shy that her heart was in a mess for a moment. Answering this question meant that he would be married to Ning Xuefei from now on, which was too unfair to the other women who had been waiting for him, be it in terms of feelings or bonds. Any one of them was far above Ning Xuefei. In terms of status, they were the ones who should be at the top. He felt that he owed them far too much, and he wouldn't be able to repay this debt in a lifetime. However, it was an emergency, and it was impossible for Lin Yi to retreat at this time. Under the eyes of the public, he nodded solemnly and said, "I'm willing." Murloc, the player of Campus Bells mobile game 1, has suggested with the game company that in the latest Campus Bells mobile game 3D, the old players will be rewarded for topping up. The reward will be given in 3D according to the topping up ratio of Campus Bells mobile game 1. For more information, please pay attention to Urine 22. Chapter 47-42. These three simple words made Ning Xuefei immersed in unparalleled shyness and joy. Although she had been thinking a lot these days, and although her heart belonged to Lin Yi, she also knew that this matter was actually too hasty. Therefore, she had been a little hesitant in her heart. She wasn't sure if she could really entrust the rest of her life to him. However, because of Lin Yi's serious injuries, this hesitance and uneasiness in the past half a month had been covered up. She didn't expect that things would take a turn today. Only then did Ning Xuefei realize that she was really going to settle down with Lin Yi. All of this happened too suddenly, so suddenly that she was caught unprepared. She didn't know how to react. But now, although Ning Xuefei still didn't know what the future would be, she already knew her feelings. Because when she heard these three words from Lin Yi, she was very relieved and happy. This was already enough. Hearing these three words from Lin Yi, Han Jingjing, and Laner, who were crowding around him, suddenly felt a little sour in their hearts for some reason. This feeling was complicated and difficult to understand. They had never felt this way before. With their characters, they rarely worried about anything. Even when Lin Yi was seriously injured this time, they were only worried for a while at the beginning. Later on, when they found out that Lin Yi was fine, they quickly returned to their previous state. However, this time, They couldn't help but feel an indescribable bitterness in their hearts. It was as if their beloved things had been snatched away. Although they knew that Lin Yi wouldn't leave them because of this, they still felt an inexplicable sense of loss. However, the two of them wouldn't really be bothered by this matter. After all, the idea of letting Lin Yi become Ning Xuefei's future husband was instigated by the two of them at the beginning. In the future, they would eventually have such a day. It was just that their best friend, Ning Xuefei, had gotten ahead of them temporarily. Compared to Han Jingjing and Laner, Hu Yudi was really worried about her gains and losses. Looking at Lin Yi, she couldn't help but bite her lips. She didn't know how she should react at this moment. Should she congratulate Lin Yi? Or should she hold a grudge against this heartless man who doesn't know how to flirt? Hu Yudi couldn't help but feel a little regretful. She regretted coming out and staying in the trial with Lin Yi. Wouldn't that be great? Once they came out, Lin Yi would definitely marry Ning Xuefei. This was something that had been announced long ago, and Lin Yi had also told her personally. How could he have forgotten about such an important matter just now? At the side, Lu Ziyu sighed. She patted Hu Yudi's hand lightly. Hu Yudi was her precious disciple whom she had brought up since she was young. She wasn't even her biological daughter, but she was even closer to her biological daughter. How could she not know what Hu Yudi was thinking about? She originally thought that it would be nice if Lin Yi could become a couple with her precious disciple. Unfortunately, fate made fools of people. Now that Lin Yi had become Ning Xuefei's future husband, he definitely couldn't marry anyone else. Not only the people of West Island wouldn't agree, but even she, Lu Ziyu, wouldn't agree. Seeing that Lin Yi agreed in public, Ning Shangling was happy. She was about to officially decide on their marriage. However, before she spoke, two people suddenly stood out from the crowd and said loudly, "No." Everyone present was stunned at once, and they all looked at Li Yuzhou and Sun Baolu strangely. They even dared to interrupt Ning Shangling's words in public. These two people were out of their minds. Were they tired of living? Who said no? How dare they make trouble in our West Island? Come on, drag them out. Ning Shangling didn't need to speak. Yan Xinlan, who was next to her, immediately ordered with a gloomy face. For disciples of West Island with towering momentum suddenly appeared around the two people. They were not ordinary guards. Disciples who could directly obey Yan Xinlan, the deputy island owner, were the elites of West Island. At least they had the cultivation of the mysterious ascending period. With the strength of Li Yuzhou and Sun Baolu, they had no power to resist at all. The two people were so scared that they wet their pants on the spot. If they were really dragged out, they would be half disabled even if they didn't die. They hurriedly shouted, "Wait, Lin Yi has a big problem with his character. He doesn't deserve to be West Island's son-in-law." As soon as these words came out, all the people present were in an uproar. Lin Yi himself looked inexplicable. He squinted at Li Yuzhou and Sun Baolu, but he had no impression of these two guys. But when he saw them standing next to Rin Zhongyuan's group, he seemed to be thinking about something. Oh, Ning Shangling didn't feel offended. She stopped the four guards of West Island with a look, and then her eyes fell on the two people, signaling them to continue talking. It was related to Ning Xuefei's marriage, and there was no room for carelessness. Although Ning Shangling was quite satisfied with Lin Yi, if he really had a big problem with his character, as these two people said, then she had to reconsider. Although Ning Shangling's eyes were still calm and gentle at the moment, and other people present didn't feel anything strange, Li Yuzhou and Sun Baolu suddenly felt a lot of pressure. The majesty and overbearing hidden in her eyes couldn't be felt by outsiders. There was no pressure in her eyes, but the two people involuntarily knelt down. They couldn't help it. Their knees didn't listen to them. In the previous trial, we saw with our own eyes that Lin Yi and Hu Yudi had sex in broad daylight. To be able to do such an immoral thing, it can be seen how bad this kid's character is. How can such a person be the prince consort of the West Island? Sun Baolu couldn't bear the huge pressure and quickly said, "Yes, yes, we have evidence. You can see it for yourselves." Li Yuzhou said as he took out the camera and showed it to everyone present openly. In an instant, the whole scene was in an uproar. There were always busybodies everywhere. After seeing such a hot photo, they all started to whistle at Lin Yi and Hui Yudi. All kinds of unpleasant comments came one after another. The side courtyard of the island master's palace became a low-class bar, full of obscene words. Ning Shangling, who had always been graceful and generous, at this moment, her face completely darkened. Even though she was far away, with her strength, she could naturally see clearly at a glance. The two people in the photo were none other than Lin Yi and Hui Yudi. Although Ning Shangling had already asked people to carefully investigate Lin Yi and knew that he had many lovers, not only Shanghai, Laner, and Han Jingjing were related to him, but also in other places, even in places like Middle Island and East Continent. There was no doubt that this was a man who was overflowing with love affairs. Chapter 47-43. But according to the rules passed down by the ancestors of West Island, if Lin Yi became Ning Xuefei's husband, he could only be with Ning Xuefei in name for the rest of his life and couldn't have other women. After all, this was a society of women's rights. As the successor of West Island, Ning Xuefei naturally had to set an example for the people of West Island. However, rules were dead, but people were alive. Ning Shangling knew very well that, if they clung to these rules, then West Island would never be able to recruit an extraordinary genius like Lin Yi. If they secluded themselves, they would only get weaker and weaker, and the gap between them and other Heaven Stage islands would get bigger and bigger. In the end, they could only sink into oblivion forever. In fact, Ning Shangling had a lot of ways to circumvent this so-called ancestral rule. But there was an important prerequisite. Before these things were properly handled, they couldn't be brought up in public and had to be done in private. But now Li Yuzhou and Sun Balu suddenly jumped out at this time and casually let everyone present see the photos. This immediately messed up Ning Shangling's plan, and it was hard to get off the tiger. And at this moment, Lu Ziyu's face was also very ugly. She could accept the relationship between Lin Yi and Hui Yudi in private, but to be exposed in public like this, that was a disgrace to the whole East Continent. Lu Ziyu suddenly flew into a rage out of humiliation. Although she secretly hated Hui Yudi for not having self-respect, she hated Li Yuzhou and Sun Balu the most at this time, these two busybodies with ulterior motives. By doing this, not only did they disgrace her and East Continent, but more importantly, they damaged Hui Yudi's reputation, which was the most important thing for a girl. After noticing Lu Ziyu's fierce gaze, Li Yuzhou and Sun Balu couldn't help but be frightened. He had already knelt down because of Ning Shangling's gaze. This time, he couldn't even kneel steadily. His whole body was almost lying on the ground. His whole body was trembling like a sieve, and he couldn't stop trembling. Even if Lu Ziyu couldn't kill them in public in this public place. Don't forget that they were going back to East Continent on the treasure ship together. At that time, the Vice Dean of Morning Pride Academy could casually think of something. It could kill the two of them without making a sound. Only then did the two of them feel extremely regretful. They wished they could slap themselves until they fainted. F***CK. Why did they come up with such a stupid idea in a moment of hot-headedness? This was simply courting death. However, now that things had come to this, it was useless no matter how much they regretted it. Faced with the hostile gazes of Ning Shangling, Lu Ziyu, and Yan Xinlan, they could only brace themselves and continue speaking. In this West Island trial, everyone knew that it was related to the marriage of the Princess of West Island. However, Lin Yi did something improper with Hui Yudi in the trial. He clearly didn't put everyone in West Island in his eyes. Li Yuzhou hurriedly shifted his hatred. Yes, this kind of person is morally inferior. He doesn't even take such an important trial seriously. Instead, he impairs public morals and plays with other women in broad daylight. How can this kind of person entrust the Princess of West Island to him? Sun Balu echoed. Those who were watching a good show didn't mind the matter getting bigger. The others also started to make a ruckus. Hui Yuri's face turned pale when she heard that. She became anxious instantly. She broke away from Lu Xiu's hand and was ready to stand up and tell the truth. However, Lin Yi stood up one step ahead of her. He didn't want Hui Yuri to clarify, although there was nothing between them. Even if Hui Yuri told the truth, he couldn't escape the fact that he was lying under her skirt to treat the poison. If it was spread out, it would still cause irreparable damage to her reputation. Is it interesting to say this? Can this photo be used as evidence against us? Lin Yi said slowly and calmly. Everyone was stunned when they heard that. When this happened, everyone thought that Lin Yi would fly into a rage out of shame, but they didn't expect this guy to act like nothing had happened. It seemed that this had nothing to do with him at all. Could it be that it was fake? Isn't this the evidence? Everyone has seen it. This is the real and irrefutable evidence. Do you still want to quibble? Li Yuzhou hurriedly insisted. Irrefutable evidence? You think a random photo can be used as irrefutable evidence? Ignorance isn't your fault, but treating us as fools like you is really not right. Lin Yi curled his lips disapprovingly. Ignorance? How are we ignorant? Li Yuzhou and Sun Baolu couldn't help but look at each other. The rest of the people revealed expressions of confusion. In any case, they didn't dare to join in the commotion at this time. Otherwise, they would really be treated as brainless fools. Wouldn't that make them clowns that would be laughed at by others? Seeing that Lin Yi had grasped the rhythm of everyone present with just a few sentences, and that a crisis that was about to get out of hand was actually so easily controlled by him, Ning Shangling, who had a gloomy expression, couldn't help but slightly curve up the corners of her mouth. It seems that Lin Yi is not only superior in strength, but he is also well versed in the way of dealing with people. He is far from being comparable to other young people of the same generation. He is really extraordinary. I came from the secular world. The mobile phones and cameras in the secular world now have Photoshop functions. It is very simple to put two people together. How can this be used as evidence? How dare you take it out to fool people on such a solemn occasion where so many sages gather? Lin Yi sneered and looked at the two of them like he was looking at idiots. This kind of retarded trick can only fool some brainless people. If you want to fool me from the secular world, you are simply asking to be humiliated. Yeah, Big Bro Lin's right. If you too want to, Jing Jing can even Photoshop the two of you together. Do whatever you want, whatever position you want, even if it's Photoshopped. You guys don't want it. Han Jingjing said in support of Lin Yi. Her words made everyone burst into laughter. Although they didn't understand some of the secular words, they were smart people with flexible brains. It didn't prevent them from understanding the meaning. At this time, the gazes that they looked at Li Yuzhou and Sun Baolu became evil. The two of them were so embarrassed that their old faces turned red. Do you have evidence to prove that this photo is real? Ning Shangling immediately asked. The answer was obvious. Li Yuzhou and Sun Baolu were genuine natives of Heaven Stage Island. It was already amazing that they could use a camera. They thought that a photo was irrefutable evidence. How could they have thought that there was such a thing? The two of them were completely illiterate in technology. If they could explain this clearly in public, pigs could fly in the sky. Chapter 47-44. They had slandered Hui Yuri and Lin Yi in public. The former was Lu Xiu's precious disciple, while the latter was Ning Xuefei's fiancé. Once they were convicted, the consequences could be imagined. Even if they were lucky enough to survive, they would definitely be punished. They might not even be able to return to the East Continent. Seeing that the matter was about to be settled, Kong Mingming suddenly jumped out and said excitedly, "Whether the photos are real or not, I have the right to speak. I'm also from the secular world. As long as you bring the camera over and let me see if it has the Photoshop function, the truth will be revealed." For a moment, Everyone revealed expressions of watching a good show. Kong Ming Ming's intention was obvious. As long as he could bring down Lin Yi, then based on the results of this trial, he would undoubtedly be the biggest beneficiary. That was why he was so proactive. With such a sudden change in the situation, Lin Yi immediately knew that things were not going well. Of course, he knew that the photos of the two people were not photoshopped, especially since the other party's camera was a single-lens reflex. It did not have the so-called Photoshop function. He had said that just now purely to fool these two fools. It was obviously impossible to fool Kong Ming Ming, a person from the secular world. As expected, Kong Ming Ming took the camera and looked at it, then began to speak with fervor and assurance. He laid out all kinds of facts and reasoning to the people present in a professional and thorough manner. In fact, he had already seen through it. Otherwise, he would not have jumped out so easily. It was a pity that the people present were all natives of the heavenly stage island. No matter how talented they were, no matter how wise and far-sighted they had no scientific knowledge. Although Kong Ming Ming said a few seemingly profound professional terms from time to time, it did not help in explaining the matter at all. Instead, it made people even more confused. They looked at each other and shook their heads in confusion. Kong Xiaoming was a dabbler himself, and it wasn't easy for him to explain the situation with just his mouth, especially with Lin Yi's random interruption in the middle. He had to rack his brain for a long time, and even after talking for a long time until his mouth was dry, he still couldn't convince anyone. The final result was that the crowd wasn't completely one-sided and remained skeptical. Although it still caused a lot of trouble for Lin Yi, he did manage to take down Lin Yi as he wished. The result could only be considered passable. What was supposed to be the closing ceremony of the trial had been turned into a science and technology debate. The development of the situation was really unexpected. Ning Shangling really didn't know what to say. Ning Shangling wanted to end this farce, but she couldn't help but worry about Lin Yi and Hu Yuri's reputation. If she abruptly stopped it, people would definitely gossip about her. No matter how she tried to explain or salvage the situation, it would be useless. Therefore, everyone, including Ning Shangling, could only continue to listen patiently. The wrangling would only end when they could come to a conclusion that everyone was convinced of. All of this, Hu Yuri was also confused, but she already understood Lin Yi's intentions. She couldn't help but secretly sigh in relief. Since she didn't need to say this somewhat awkward truth, it naturally couldn't be any better. That was naturally for the best. Seeing that everyone was getting a little impatient, and that Kong Ming Ming's explanation was becoming more and more useless, Hu Yuri didn't miss the opportunity to stand out. She said with an indifferent expression, "Island Lord Ning, don't listen to that idiot's nonsense. Don't listen to that guy's bullshit. He was the one who injured Lin Yi during the test. He has a huge grudge against us. Therefore, he's thinking of ways to maliciously slander us. His intentions are deserving of death." "Oh, he was the one who injured Lin Yi?" Ning Shangling's bright and beautiful eyes immediately narrowed slightly. Even if Hu Yuri didn't explain in detail with her intelligence, she could roughly deduce what had happened based on the information she had obtained and the reactions of the two of them. Lin Yi and Kong Ming Ming had most likely fought over the Thunder Xian vine. The result was obvious that both sides were injured. Although both of them had obtained a Thunder Xian vine, Ning Shangling was clearly on Lin Yi's side. Kong Ming Ming was a shameless person who didn't abide by the rules. He really deserved to die. In that case, what he said was all false. No wonder he couldn't explain himself after talking for so long. Lu Ziyu said as she stared at Kong Ming Ming with an unfriendly expression. She naturally had to help her disciple when there was an opportunity like this. That's right. Actually, there's no need for this matter to be so complicated. Disciple's chastity mark is still here, and that's the most convincing evidence. That idiot said so much nonsense just to confuse everyone's attention and fish in troubled waters. He's a despicable person, harboring malicious intentions. Yuri said with a cold snort. Die, or is what you said true? Lu Ziyu was overjoyed when she heard that. She looked at Ning Shangling, and the two of them immediately asked Yuri to roll up her sleeves. The chastity mark on her arm was intact. Then, everyone finally had no more doubts. Different from the perjury of the photos, the chastity mark was the real evidence, which proved that Yuri had not lost her virginity at all. As for having an affair with Lin Yi in broad daylight, that was naturally a lie. Ning Shangling's dignified gaze swept across the whole place and finally fell on Kong Mingming. She said calmly, "What's your name?" "Kong Kaisi, right? Let me tell you, it's a felony to falsely accuse others in West Island. The severity of the punishment is beyond ordinary people's imagination. Do you still want to continue to argue?" This. Kong Mingming was speechless at once. Damn it, what kind of name is this? When did I become Kong Kaisi? But now he also realized that if he continued to talk, not only would it be a waste of his saliva, he might even get into trouble. So, he could only choose to shut up resentfully. When Kong Mingming saw that the situation was not good, he could withdraw himself. But as the initiators Liu Zhou and Sun Balu, it was really hard for them to back down now. If it was a false accusation, Kong Mingming was at most joining in the fun, while the two of them were the real initiators. As for the two of you, considering that you're disciples of East State College, it's not convenient for me to punish you. Just leave it to Deputy Dean Lu to deal with. Don't spoil everyone's fun, Ning Shangling said lightly. Okay. Lu Zhu nodded, glanced at the two of them coldly, and said on the spot, "I'll deal with you properly when we go back." His words made Liu Zhou and Sun Baolu's hair stand on end. It's over, it's really over this time. This time, the crime of false accusation was completely proven, and they even fell into the hands of the other party's master. Could they still have a good ending? Chapter 47-45. At this time, no one would care about these two poor guys. Things were finally back on track. Ning Shangling said loudly in public, "Now, as the owner of West Island, I solemnly announce that Lin Yi, the disciple of North Island, is the fiancé of my daughter, Ning Xue Fei." All the people present applauded. Now that they had seen the fun, of course, they had to give face to the host. They couldn't let the atmosphere be awkward. Besides, many of them had seen Lin Yi's strength, so they were sincerely convinced by Lin Yi. Lin Yi, from today on, you have to remember that you are not only the disciple of the 3 pavilions of North Island, but also a member of West Island. In the future, every move you make outside should be based on the overall interests of West Island. Remember? Ning Shangling admonished him in public, and then changed her tone. Of course, if someone or something offends you, you don't have to swallow it. Although we are all women in West Island, we are never afraid of trouble. I and the whole West Island will be your strongest support. Hearing this, everyone present was envious, jealous, and hateful, and Lin Yi himself couldn't help feeling excited. Until this moment, he suddenly had a hindsight. There was the will of heaven in Middle Island, Shanghai Tianhua in North Island, Ning Shangling in West Island, and the ghost thing, the former azure dragon of the Spirit Beast clan. Unconsciously, he had gathered such a powerful alliance around him. If such a super powerful lineup could be mobilized, it would be enough to fight an unprecedented battle in Heaven Stage Island. Not to mention Dongzhou, at least in other places, they would absolutely be invincible. As you say, island owner. Lin immediately nodded and said in a deep voice, "Very well. You and Fei Fei are still young, and it's not the time for you to get married. But according to the rules passed down by the ancestors of West Island, I will arrange for you to study in Dongzhou College at the same time. First, you can see the world. Second, improve your strength. And third, cultivate your relationship. I hope that after you finish your studies and come back, you can complement each other, take responsibility, and protect West Island together." Ning Shangling said, "This, Lin, he couldn't help muttering in his heart when he heard that. Wouldn't this mess up his own arrangement? From then on, he would be completely tied to West Island and wouldn't even have the chance to act freely? Ning Shangling could tell that Lin Yi was worried. He smiled and didn't say anything. After a few more words of encouragement, he officially ended the trial of West Island, which was full of twists and turns. Everyone left one after another. Except for the West Island guards who were stationed here, only Lin Yi and the others were left in the side courtyard. Lin Yi's mind is full of worries. Ning Xuefei blushes and doesn't dare to look up at him, while Han Jingjing and Shangguan Laner's eyes are moving back and forth on their faces. It wasn't easy for us to have such a happy ending. You should at least say something to celebrate. Why aren't you saying anything? Han Jingjing asked curiously. Yes, now that you've become the fiancé of Junior Brother, I'm here to interview Fei. Do you have any acceptance speech? Shangguan Laner took a roll of paper out of nowhere and handed it to Ning Xuefei as a microphone. This girl has been with Han Jingjing for more than half a month, so she is more and more familiar with the things of the secular world. What kind of award is this? Lin Yi suddenly laughed when he heard that. Although he was a little overwhelmed by the sudden addition of Ning Xuefei as his fiancée, after all, it was something that they had discussed long ago. Besides, they weren't officially married, so he didn't really feel uncomfortable about it. He just felt it was fresh. Lan only knows how to be funny. Ning Xuefei also chuckled. After all, she is a little girl with a simple mind. She just saw that Lin Yi didn't say anything and thought that he regretted it, so she was nervous. But now looking at Lin Yi's expression, she knew that she obviously thought too much. After such a scene, the awkward atmosphere finally returned to normal. Lin Yi and the three women's state was the same as before. There wasn't much change. If anything, it was just that his relationship with Ning Xuefei had become a little closer. Lin Yi, what were you thinking about just now? Were you thinking about Sister Hua? Ning Xuefei rolled her eyes and suddenly suggested, Oh yeah, we haven't thanked Sister Hua yet. Let's go to her now, okay? Okay. Han Jingjing and Shangguan Laner nodded repeatedly. Hua Yudi was Lin Yi's great benefactor, so she was their great benefactor. Moreover, in their hearts, Hua Yudi was already a sister. Of course, they had to play together. Hearing this, Lin Yi smiled. Although the three women were all simple girls, relatively speaking, Ning Xuefei was more thoughtful. She must have noticed that Hua Yudi was a little sad just now, so she wanted to take the opportunity to comfort her, right? This is not urgent. Fei, let's go to see your mother first. I have something to ask her, Lin Yi said. Ah, what's the matter? Hearing this, Ning Xuefei was stunned, and then her pretty face suddenly turned red. She said weakly, You don't want to ask when we will get married, do you? Puff. Lin Yi almost choked. They'd just confirmed their status, and she was already thinking about getting married? What was going on in this girl's head? Did he look like he couldn't wait? No, I have other things to discuss with your mother. Fei, it's not realistic for me to stay in West Island all the time. I still have a lot of things to do, Lin Yi said helplessly. Oh, hearing the mischievous laughter of Han Jingjing and Shangguan Laner, Ning Xuefei suddenly blushed. After a while, she explained, Actually, even if you do that with me, you don't have to stay in West Island all the time, really? Lin Yi's eyes lit up. Really, my father doesn't stay in West Island all the time, so you can also move freely, Ning Xuefei said. That's great. Lin Yi breathed a sigh of relief and then asked, By the way, I've never heard you talk about your father. Isn't he in West Island now? No, a few years ago he left with two powerful figures to protect the peace of Heaven Stage Island, and there's no news from him until now. Speaking of this, Ning Xuefei couldn't help feeling a little disappointed, but she wasn't too worried. After all, her father was also a powerful figure. Even if there was no news from him, there wouldn't be an irreversible accident. He left with two powerful figures. Lin Yi nodded thoughtfully and didn't continue to ask more questions. He still suggested, "Let's go to see your mother. I want to ask her about going to Dongzhou College." "Oh, okay." Ning Xuefei didn't mind. She immediately led Lin Yi to find Ning Shangling. Along the way, they directly came to Ning Shangling's study without any notice. Now the Apple and Android versions of Campus Bell's Personal 3D have been released smoothly, and the online drama of Campus Bell has been updated. Murloc hasn't been idle, writing new chapters of Campus Bell. It feels so fulfilling. Today, Murloc's public signal, Urine 22, released the Diamond gift package of Campus Bell 3D. Everyone can go and receive it. Chapter 47-46. Although Han Jingjing and Shanghai Laner were also together, they didn't go in to join in the fun. Instead, they stayed outside to eat snacks. Women all like delicate and delicious snacks. In West Island, which was like a country of women, there were all kinds of snacks. The first thing they did when they got up every day was to eat snacks. "You're here." Ning Shangling was dealing with some things in the study at this time. When she saw Lin Yi and Ning Xuefei come in, she just raised her head and motioned them to find a place to sit down. It seemed that she didn't treat Lin Yi, her prospective son-in-law, as an outsider. Lin Yi didn't speak directly. He and Ning Xuefei looked at each other and sat down. When Ning Shangling finished dealing with the things at hand, he cleared his throat and said, "Island owner." "Call me Aunt Ning for the time being. We'll be a family in the future. It's too distant to call me Island owner." Ning Shangling smiled gently. Of course, after they got married, she would have to call her mother-in-law. "Okay, Aunt Ning." Lin Yi didn't hesitate and immediately changed the way he addressed her. Ning Shangling smiled kindly. Not only was Ning Xuefei happy that Lin Yi could win the trial without any mishap, but she was also sincerely happy for her daughter as a mother. "Aunt Ning, I have a request, and I hope you can agree," Lin Yi said after thinking for a while. "Oh, just say it," Ning Shangling said. "You just said that according to the rules of West Island, you will send me and Fei Fei to East Continent College for further study?" Lin Yi said. "Yes, I want to talk to you about this. Except for a few colleges with extremely strict rules, you can choose all the other colleges in East Continent. Do you have any ideas?" Ning Shangling asked. "Aunt Ning, in fact, I don't want to go to East Continent for further study for the time being. It's not the right time for me to go to East Continent College. Going to East Continent College is likely to limit my development. What I need most now is to go everywhere to practice, not to find a safe place for further study. I hope you can understand this, Aunt Ning," Lin Yi said earnestly. "Oh." Ning Shangling's eyes slightly narrowed. He looked Lin Yi up and down, noticing that the aura around him wasn't dispersing at all, unlike the other young prodigies. Lin Yi nodded in approval. "You're right. With your current situation, it'll be hard for you to stay in the East Continent School. It's a waste of time." Although East Continent College was full of crouching tigers and hidden dragons, in Ning Shangling's opinion, this so-called competition might not bring much pressure to Lin Yi. When the environment became too comfortable, even the most spirited young people would gradually become depressed. And eventually, "That Lin is E," Lin said. "Fine, if that's the case, I'll put the matter of you going to the East Continent College aside for now. However, I have a condition. You have to send Fei Fei to the East Continent first. At least from the looks of it, you'll be accompanying her," Lin Tie said. "And I Zhou Lin Shi's you." Ning Xuefei was different from Lin Yi. Her unwillingness to cultivate was comparable to Shangguan Laner's. She only had the strength of the elixir realm. As the future successor of West Island, it was obviously not enough. Ning Shangling had long wanted to send her to the East Continent Academy for further studies, but she had always found all sorts of excuses to refuse. But this time, Ning Xuefei could not escape. Lin Yi could cultivate on his own, but she had to stay in East Continent College. There was no room for negotiation. Ning Xuefei pursed her lips. Just as he was about to speak, he was choked back by Ning Shangling's glare. He knew his own affairs, so he could only shut his mouth resentfully. "Thank you, Aunt Ning." Lin immediately agreed. Going to the East Continent Academy for further studies was the rule of West Island. He thought it would not be so easy to change it. He did not expect Ning Shangling to agree so easily. It could be seen that his mother-in-law was flexible. This was good news for Lin Yi. Otherwise, if Ning Shangling was really a stubborn old dogma with her identity and status, she might cause a lot of trouble in the future. He did not expect her to be so easygoing. It seemed that his life in West Island would not be too difficult. "It's up to you to decide. There's no need to thank me." Ning Shangling smiled, not minding it. She suddenly changed the topic. "Lin Yi, how did you and Hoyuti get out? Can you tell Aunt Ning the truth? Of course, if it's inconvenient, no one will force you. It's just about the transmission mechanism of West Island's trial, so I think it's necessary to figure it out." Before, Lin Yi's excuse that a master of the mysterious ascending stage sent them out was at most to deceive outsiders who did not know the inside story. Obviously, it could not fool the high-level officials of West Island like Ning Shangling. If a master of the mysterious ascending stage could really start the transmission formation, they should have found it hundreds of years ago. This was simply impossible. Aunt Ning is wise. To tell you the truth, I actually got out with my own true chi this time. Lin Yi said frankly, "There is nothing to hide about this kind of thing." It was not convenient to speak frankly in front of outsiders, but now with the relationship between Ning Shangling and himself, of course, she could not be regarded as an outsider. "Oh." Ning Shangling was slightly surprised. She thought that Lin Yi and Hoyuti found some loopholes in the transmission formation, but she did not expect the answer to be so simple. "The power of my martial arts skills has long been comparable to that of a master of the mysterious ascending stage, and I'm in the Yuanying stage. I took advantage of the loophole of the transmission formation, so I could get out smoothly." Lin Yi explained in full detail. "No wonder. With your current realm, you can be comparable to a master of the mysterious ascending stage. This is really unheard of and unseen." Ning Shangling was surprised, and suddenly she couldn't help but feel like she had picked up a treasure. This time, she could get a prospective son-in-law like Lin Yi, who had incredible means, which was probably the most gratifying gain for her in West Island in these years. In fact, because Ning Xuefei had always disliked cultivation, Ning Shangling had a lot of headaches because of this in recent years. In terms of talent and aptitude, Ning Xuefei was actually a rare genius in the world. After all, her parents had strong genes, so she was not weak even if she wanted to. However, if she didn't work hard to cultivate, what was the use of having good talent and aptitude? All of Ning Xuefei's interests were in all kinds of research and inventions. Unfortunately, this was a small way that could not be learned in the Heaven Stage Island. If she wanted to take over West Island, she had to rely on her own strength. If her own strength was not enough, even if Ning Shangling could help her to get the position of the island owner would not be stable. Of course, Ning Shangling would try her best to improve her strength, but this was by no means a matter of a day and a night. But now, with a strong support like Lin Yi, the pressure on Ning Xuefei was not as great as before. Husband and wife were one. As long as Lin Yi's strength could shock everyone, Ning Xuefei could naturally be as stable as Mount Tai. Floating astronomy. Chapter 47:47. Aunt Ning, you flatter me. Huh. Lin Yi smiled faintly. Ning Shangling asked Lin Yi to stay and talk for a while, mostly with gentle words of encouragement to improve their relationship. Finally, they had dinner together before she let Lin Yi leave, and she specially arranged a new residence for Lin Yi. After all, from today on, Lin Yi was Ning Xuefei's legitimate fiancée, and it was inappropriate for him to live in the envoy's residence in West Island. Ning Shangling specially allowed him to live in the island master's temporary imperial residence, which was next to Ning Xuefei's yard and only a few steps away from Han Jingjing's and Shanghai Laner's rooms, which was convenient for them to get together. For the next few days, Lin Yi had nothing else to do. He hung out with Ning Xuefei, Han Jingjing, and Shanghai Laner all day long. He had no choice. After the trial, the three women were very clingy to him. It was impossible for Lin Yi to cultivate alone, so he could only take time to accompany the three of them as compensation for making them worry before. At the same time, in a small courtyard not far away from the island master's temporary imperial residence, Huyuri paid no attention to what was going on outside. Every day, she stayed indoors and immersed herself in cultivation. Lu Xiu saw all this and her heart ached. As the saying goes, no one knows a daughter better than a mother. What Huyuri was thinking, as a master who was not a mother, but more like a mother, she knew clearly. Her precious disciple was lovesick. Don't cultivate in the house. Go out and get some fresh air, Lu Xiu advised softly. No need, master. I've been neglected for so long in the trial of West Island. I want to make up for it. Huyuri shook her head and said, More haste, less speed. Besides, you've reached a bottleneck now. It's useless to cultivate blindly. It's important to adjust your state of mind. Lu Xiu looked at Huyuri's sullen look and couldn't help feeling distressed. So she said, Aren't you very interested in things in the secular world? Han Jingjing came from the secular world. Go and play with them. Huyuri couldn't help but be stunned. It was only when she saw the playful smile on her master's face that she came to a realization. She nodded shyly and ran out of the room. Looking at Huyuri's back view, which had clearly become excited once again, Lu Xiu sighed slightly, thinking to himself that fate was really making fools of people. The heavens had clearly brought the two of them together, but now they had mercilessly sentenced Lin Yi to Ning Xuefei. How cruel was this to Dyer? Actually, from the bottom of his heart, Lu Xiu did not want Huyuri and Lin Yi to have any more contact. After all, Lin Yi was already West Island's Fuma, and this was an unchangeable fact. Lin Yi's strength was outstanding. It was far beyond Lu Xiu's expectations, especially when she found out from Huyuri how they came out of the trial ground. She subconsciously felt that she was a celestial being. A mere middle-stage, nascent soul cultivator could be compared to an expert of the profound ascension stage. How exaggerated, how nature-defying. Huyuri originally wanted to keep this matter a secret, but she didn't know why. When Lu Xiu asked, she couldn't help but say it. In short, she just wanted to show how powerful Lin Yi was in front of her master. Anyway, her master wouldn't spread it out. In fact, looking at Lu Xiu's shocked expression after hearing it, she really felt satisfied, and her face was full of pride. It was just that Lin Yi didn't belong to her anymore. Although it was a pity, there was no other way. Lu Xiu originally thought that after the matter between Lin Yi and Ning Xuefei was settled, Huyuri could give up on Lin Yi with peace of mind. She didn't expect it to become like this. Looking at Huyuri's abnormal behavior these few days, how could she have the intention to let go? As someone with experience, Lu Xiu clearly knew that if this matter couldn't be resolved properly, it might become a mental calamity that her precious disciple couldn't overcome. Perhaps from then on, it would become a mental tribulation that his precious disciple couldn't overcome. It might seem fine at normal times, but once it came to a critical moment like a breakthrough, it would become a fatal flaw. Therefore, since Huyuri and Lin Yi couldn't be together, then there had to be a thorough end between them. Only by saying it out clearly could this matter come to an end. Otherwise, if she kept it in her heart for no reason, not to mention breaking through to the next level, it was very likely that she would go berserk, and then it would be too late for regrets. While Lu Xiu was frowning, She didn't know that Huyuri herself was in high spirits at this moment. She had completely misunderstood the meaning, thinking that Lu Ziyu was encouraging her to be together with Lin. If Lu Ziyu knew her precious disciple's thoughts, she really didn't know how she would react. Maybe she would directly cry until she fainted in the toilet. No matter what, they were the morning prodigies, the high and mighty goddesses in the eyes of countless East Continent Academy disciples, who would rush her to their doorstep like this. Arriving at Ning Xuefei's courtyard, Huyuri couldn't help but feel both excited and apprehensive as she listened to the cheerful laughter of Lin Yi and the others. Being able to see Lin Yi again after so many days made her happy. But how should she face Ning Xuefei and the others? They were all Lin Yi's confidants. Although she didn't think in this direction at the start, at this moment, she couldn't help but think about what she should do after seeing Ning Xuefei and the others. As the proud daughter of East Continent Academy, at this moment, she was actually feeling guilty and apprehensive, like a concubine meeting her mistress. The matter clearly hadn't even taken shape yet. If Lin Yi were to find out about this, he would really be drunk. Ah, Sister Hua, why are you so late? At this time, Ning Xuefei's surprised voice came from the courtyard. Unlike the others, because of Ning Shangling and Lu Ziyu, she had known Huyuri for a long time. It was just that West Island and East Continent were too far apart, so they rarely had the opportunity to meet. In an instant, the eyes of Lin Yi, Shangguan Laner, Han Jingjing, and the others all fell on Huyuri. Huyuri was so shy that she didn't dare to move. I just came out to take a walk and get some fresh air. Huyuri quickly made up an excuse. She didn't dare to say that she actually came for Lin Yi. That would be too embarrassing. Come out to get some fresh air? Ning Xuefei and the others looked at each other and smiled. Her courtyard was far away from here. How could she come here just by taking a walk? They didn't expose her, but immediately ran over to hold her hand and said, "Since you're here, play with us. We've been waiting for you for a few days. Aunt Lu said that you were busy cultivating in seclusion, so we didn't dare to disturb you." Yeah, Jingjing has been looking forward to Sister was coming. Now we have one more good sister, he. Han Jingjing smiled sweetly. Chapter 47-48. I'm not. Huyuri blushed at his words and quickly shook her head to deny it. What are you talking about? Sister Hua, you are still wearing the secular clothes given by the little junior brother. It can be seen that you have acquiesced in it and made a happy decision, Shanghai Laner said with a teasing face. Huyuri just put on this set of denim sportswear today. Originally, she was happy in her heart, but now she suddenly choked. Why did I acquiesce in it? What did I acquiesce in? Don't be complacent. You talk as if you have no part in it. Don't you want to be our sister? Ning Xuefei stood out to smooth things over, and her words made Shanghai Lena also choke. Together with Han Jingjing, she pulled Huyuri to Lin Yi. You're here. Lin Yi greeted her with a smile. Yes, I'm here. Huyuri blushed and didn't dare to look at Lin Yi. She didn't know why. When she saw Lin Yi a little closer this time, her heart pounded wildly as if it was about to jump out, making her breathless. Come and sit down. They were just talking about you and pestered me to talk about the trial in West Island. I was in a coma and didn't know so much. Why don't you tell them about it? Lin Yi naturally took Huyuri's hand and let her sit next to him. Huyuri suddenly screamed with an electric shock. Obviously, she didn't expect that Lin Yi would take her hand in front of Ning Xuefei and the others. She immediately lowered her head shyly. While her heart was beating wildly, she slowly felt sweet. Yes, Sister Hua, tell us about it. Ning Xuefei and the other two looked at each other and smiled, rushing to be the first. They crowded around Huyuri with great interest. Huyuri was quite flattered by this kind of friendly attitude, and the nervousness in her heart disappeared. She was just worried about how to get along with them, but now it seemed that she was simply overthinking things. Regardless of whether it was Ning Xuefei, Han Jingjing, or Shengguan Laner, they were all kind-hearted girls. The dirty things that she had thought of before, such as being ostracized and targeted, would never happen to them. Huiyuti couldn't help but feel a little ashamed in her heart. She had gauged the heart of a gentleman with her own mean measure. His worries disappeared. Huiyuti quickly became one with the girls. Although she was a little older than Ning Xuefei and the others, her personality was very simple. Getting along with her was naturally warm and happy. The friendship between young girls was sometimes very strange. In a short period of time, Huiyuti, Ning Xuefei, and the others seemed to have become best friends who regretted not having met earlier. The more they chatted, the more they got along. It was full of common topics. This time, it was Lin Yi who felt bored. With this group of young girls, he was simply an outsider who couldn't get a word in. Of course, Lin Yi was actually very pleased with this result. Although these girls were kind-hearted, they were actually very clever. Huiyuti didn't say anything, and they didn't say anything either. But everyone knew what they were thinking, but they didn't point it out in public. In the next few days, Huiyuti and the girls completely got along, and even moved in. The four girls directly opened a big bed in Ning Xuefei's room and slept together at night. Of course, Lin Yi didn't have a share in it. Even if Ning Xuefei was his nominal fiancé, he couldn't enter the boudoir, not to mention that there were four of them here at once. As for the daytime, Ning Xuefei took Lin Yi and the girls to wander around West Island, just like Lin Yi took her to visit North Island. Basically, they went around all the famous places, and the local customs were completely different from other places. It really opened Lin Yi's eyes. However, in the process, there were often embarrassing things. Everywhere they went, they were always blocked. A group of people in West Island wanted to come and see Lin Yi, the future Fuma of West Island. This feeling of being surrounded like an animal really made Lin Yi speechless, and he could only flee. In contrast, Ning Xuefei and Huiyuti, who were as beautiful as fairies, didn't care about them. If the four of them went out to the outer island, they would definitely enjoy the same treatment as Lin Yi. Unfortunately, this was West Island, and the streets of West Island were full of women. Men couldn't come out casually. Huiyuti had fun with Lin Yi and others, but Ren Zhongyuan on the other side didn't notice it at all. He thought that Huiyuti was still in closed-door training these days. Every day, he was thinking of finding an opportunity to please her, so as not to leave a bad impression on her because of the previous misunderstanding. Since he saw the virginity mark on Huiyuti's arm that day, like others, he completely regarded the photo as a fart. No matter how the two poor guys, Liu Yuzhou and Sun Baolu, begged for mercy, he didn't even need Lu Ziyu to do anything. He took the lead to beat them half to death, wanting to express his goodwill to Huiyuti, and at the same time he rushed to delete the photo, so as not to spread it and ruin the reputation of his sweetheart. But beating the two underlings was only his duty. Ren Zhongyuan also knew that it was impossible to get Huiyuti's forgiveness. He heard that Huiyuti was very interested in the mobile phones of the secular world, so he simply wanted to cater to her. It was a pity that although the Central Chamber of Commerce mainly sold all kinds of technological products, it rarely sold mobile phones, the most commonly used thing in the secular world. After all, there was no base station on Tianji Island, and mobile phones were purely a decoration. They couldn't run to the operator just to sell mobile phones. On Tianji Island, if you wanted to buy a mobile phone, you could only specially order one. But Ren Zhongyuan wasn't Ning Xuefei. Although he had some background in East Continent College, it was a pity that the Central Chamber of Commerce of West Island wouldn't buy it. Ordering a mobile phone was purely wishful thinking. In desperation, Ren Zhongyuan wandered back and forth in the Central Chamber of Commerce for a long time, and finally had to give up the idea of buying a mobile phone. Instead, he took a fancy to a pair of walkie-talkies. In his opinion, this thing was also very awesome, and its functions were not too different from a mobile phone. He believed that Huiyuti would definitely like it after seeing it. Gritting his teeth, Ren Zhongyuan tightened his belt and did not hesitate to spend a sky-high price to buy the walkie-talkies. He immediately rushed to find Hui Yudi, wanting to give his sweetheart a big surprise. But it wasn't so easy for him to see Hui Yudi. He lived in the envoy residence of West Island, but Hui Yudi lived in the temporary imperial residence of the island master because of the close relationship between Lu Ziyu and Ning Shangling. If there was no special reason, no outsider was allowed to step into the temporary imperial residence of the island master, let alone a man like Ren Zhongyuan. Chapter 47-49. Of course, this was also because Hui Yudi and the others lived in a more remote area. Otherwise, if it was a core area like Ning Shuafei's residence, even a profound ascension expert at the peak of the nascent soul stage wouldn't be able to get half a step closer, let alone a mere peak nascent soul cultivator like him. After successfully sneaking into Hui Yudi's courtyard and avoiding the eyes and ears of some servants, Ren Zhongyuan quickly found Hui Yudi's room. He wasn't unfamiliar with this place. Previously, he had come here once under the pretext of visiting Lu Ziyu. Hui Yudi's room was the target of his dreams, and he often came here in his dreams. After slightly sorting out his excited feelings, Ren Zhongyuan directly pushed the door open and entered. In name, he wanted to give Hui Yudi a surprise, but in fact, what he was thinking more was that it would be best if he could take this opportunity to see some wonderful scenes that he usually couldn't see, such as bathing or changing clothes, as soon as the door opened. Ren Zhongyuan's had immediately poked in, his eyes darting around as he searched everywhere. His mind was filled with charming fantasies of Hui Yudi wearing thin clothes, but the person in front of him gave him a huge shock. Right now, the person sitting in the room wasn't Hui Yudi, but Lu Ziyu. Right now, Lu Ziyu was in the room studying the Thunder Xian Vine, not because she coveted her disciples' things, but because for someone at her level, the Thunder Xian Vine was already useless. Right now, she was studying this purely for Hui Yudi. After all, the Thunder Xian Vine was the main material for refining the Thunder Xian pill, and its quality was very important. Moreover, whether it was mature or not directly affected the choice of other materials. Hui Yudi herself was muddle-headed, so these things could only be taken care of by her master, who was both a teacher and a mother. Hui Yudi had been staying with Ning Shuafei and the others for the past few days, so Lu Ziyu had never expected that someone would suddenly push open the door. Furthermore, the person who came was not Hui Yudi. In her shock, she did not even have the time to retract the Thunder Mystic Vine on the table, and Ren Zhongyuan immediately saw it clearly. With Lu Ziyu's strength, it was originally impossible for Ren Zhongyuan to escape her perception, but this was the island master's temporary imperial residence. There was no need to go into details about the strict and thorough security. Normal people wouldn't think that someone would actually sneak in here. Moreover, out of the most basic respect for those old seniors of West Island, Lu Ziyu wouldn't easily use her divine sense here. Moreover, from time to time, there were servants walking in the courtyard's corridor, and it was very normal to have footsteps. This caused Lu Ziyu to let her guard down. Who would have thought that someone actually dared to come in without knocking? Ah, Ren Zhongyuan was similarly shocked. He had secretly come to give Hui Yudi a surprise. Who knew that he would actually meet Lu Ziyu in this room? This feeling was like sneaking into your sweetheart's room, only to find out that it was your sweetheart's mother when you turned on the lights. In an instant, his heart turned cold, and he didn't feel good, however. Ren Zhongyuan didn't feel very awkward at this moment, because he saw the Thunder Mystic Vine on the table. He never expected that Lu Ziyu would also have a Thunder Mystic Vine. Previously, when Ren Zhongyuan saw Lin Yi take out the Thunder Xianrat Tan, he was so envious that his eyeballs almost fell out. He was at the peak of the nascent soul realm, and he was the most eager person in the world to get the Thunder Xian Rot Tan. If Lin Yi hadn't become the Fuma of West Island, Ren Zhongyuan and the others would never let go of this fat piece of meat. They would definitely try their best to get the Thunder Xuanwu in his hands, but now it was impossible. They would never dare to rob the things of West Island's Fuma in the territory of West Island, even if they had 10,000 guts. However, Huyuri also had a thunder profound rattan. Could it be that Lin he had given it to her? Although Lu Ziyu was holding it, this was Huyuri's room, and the thunder Xian rattan was useless to Lu Ziyu. Ren Zhongyuan immediately guessed the truth. He suddenly felt a surge of jealousy in his heart, and he faintly felt that there was something fishy about the photo of Liu Zhou and Sun Bolu. But now wasn't the time to look into this. The two parties were in a stalemate for a moment. Ren Zhongyuan suddenly rolled his eyes. Not only did he not retreat, but he also walked in and even closed the door behind him. You're still not going out? You're trespassing into someone else's room. And this is the temporary imperial residence of the island owner. Are you really not afraid of death? Lu Ziyu's eyes suddenly narrowed. If Hua Yudi saw Ren Zhongyuan's action, her heart would really tremble, and she might even think that he was beastly. Unfortunately, she was Lu Ziyu. Ren Zhongyuan, who was at the peak of the nascent soul realm, was just a slightly stronger ant in her eyes. Haha, Deputy Dean Lu, don't be angry first. If I'm not wrong, this should be the Thunder Xian Rattan, right? Ren Zhongyuan asked despite knowing the answer. Why are you still asking when you already know? Lu Ziyu looked at him coldly. She had more or less heard of the relationship between Liu Zhou and Ren Zhongyuan, so she had an extremely bad impression of this guy. She said expressionlessly, Do you have something to say? The Thunder Xian pill is a 7th grade medicinal pill, and only a 7th grade alchemist has the ability to refine it. But in our Eastern Continent's Golden Rank Academies, there are only a few 7th grade alchemists. Ren Zhongyuan deliberately paused and looked at the other's changing expression. I think Deputy Dean Lu should understand what I mean now, right? Lu Ziyu frowned when she heard this. This was the biggest matter on her mind for the past few days. Although the Thunder Xian Rattan was good, if it couldn't be refined into a Thunder Xian pill, then it was completely useless. Originally, their Morning Pride Academy had a 7th grade alchemist overseeing it. But unfortunately, 2 years ago, an alchemy accident had occurred, and this 7th grade alchemist had suffered an extremely heavy backlash. Since then, he had been in seclusion to recuperate. Now, the highest grade alchemist overseeing the Morning Pride Academy was only 6th grade. So wanting to refine the Thunder Xian pill was not a small matter. But Ren Zhongyuan's father was Soaring Cloud Academy's chief alchemist, and his cultivation was 7th grade. This was the peak level of a golden rank alchemist, and he was only one step away from the legendary black rank alchemist. What you mean is, you can help me refine the pill. Lu Ziyu threw a glance at Ren Zhongyuan. A 7th grade alchemist was not so easy to invite. If they did not have a sufficient relationship, even with her status, it would be very difficult to invite a 7th grade alchemist. However, Ren Zhongyuan clearly had this ability. 7th grade medicinal pills are very difficult to refine, and the slightest carelessness will cause a backlash. Deputy Dean Lu, you should be very clear on this point. Ren Zhongyuan smiled and said in the tone of an expert, and according to what I know among the 7th grade medicinal pills, the risk of refining the Thunder Xian pill is the highest. The Thunder Xian Rattan is naturally filled with thunder and lightning, and one mistake will cause the furnace to explode. The consequences are unthinkable, and ordinary 7th grade alchemists are not willing to accept this kind of life-threatening task. Chapter 4750. What are your conditions? Lu Ziyu asked in a low voice. She didn't think that the other party would unconditionally court her. Even if Ren Zhongyuan was willing, his father might not be willing. Vice Principal Lu, you also know that I've been in love with junior sister Yudi for a long time, and with our conditions, it can be said that we're a match made in heaven. Why don't you just help me out? Ren Zhongyuan finally revealed his fox's tail. This Lu Ziyu immediately fell into deep thought. Seeing the other party hesitate, Ren Zhongyuan's eyes turned, and he hurriedly struck while the iron was hot. According to the rules, any 7th-grade alchemist who receives a request to refine pills only needs to pay 1 completed pill. If it's completely useless, then there's not a single pill. But with my father's methods, these Thunder Xian vines are enough to refine 4 Thunder Xian pills. And I can promise to give you 2 pills. This condition should be generous enough, right? This time, Lu Ziyu was instantly moved. Such a condition was not only generous, but it was basically the only one that could offer such a thing. Even if it was the 7th-grade alchemist from her Morning Pride Academy, it would not be possible for him to guarantee that he would be able to give out 2 Thunder Profound pills. If it was not a close relative or close friend, no 7th-grade alchemist would be able to offer such a condition. No matter how great the talent, no matter how great the potential, it was very difficult to guarantee success in breaking through to the profound ascension realm. Hu Yudi was no exception, but if she had 2 Thunder Xian pills in her hands, with double insurance, then her confidence would be completely different. Seeing Lu Ziyu's expression, Ren Zhongyuan immediately smiled. The saying that money moves people's hearts was indeed successful. Even a big shot like the other party couldn't avoid it. As for the remaining 2 Thunder Xian pills, naturally Junior Sister Yudi and I will each have one. Vice Principal Lu, what do you think? Ren Zhongyuan continued to tempt him without any hesitation. What? Lu Ziyu was immediately shocked, looking at Ren Zhongyuan in disbelief. You mean these 2 Thunder Xian pills of mine aren't considered to be for Yudi? Haha, that's only natural. As long as you agree to this matter, then Junior Sister Yudai will already be my dual cultivation companion. How could I trouble Vice Dean Lu with her medicinal pills? Ren Zhongyuan said with a laugh as he patted his chest in a rich and overbearing manner. Taking a deep look at Ren Zhongyuan, Lu Ziyu couldn't help but fall into silence. To be honest, after hearing these conditions, she was really tempted. After all, besides Ren Zhongyuan, who was the son of a 7th-grade alchemist, no one else could offer such conditions. She couldn't help but be tempted. Otherwise, if she couldn't find someone to help her refine pills, no matter how precious the Thunder Xian vine was, it would not be of any use. Instead, if the dense electric arcs slowly dissipated, if it completely disappeared, it would lose its effect and become a pile of trash through and through. Because of this matter, Lu Ziyu couldn't eat or sleep for the next few days. She had even seriously considered whether she should put down her pride and ask Ning Shangling for help. With the huge power of West Island, of course, it was impossible that she couldn't find a 7th-grade alchemist. And with the friendship between her and Ning Shangling, she shouldn't be rejected. However, after thinking about it carefully, this didn't seem very realistic because this was a matter of principle, and it wasn't something that could be swayed by mere personal feelings. As the owner of West Island, Ning Shangling could decide the fate of the entire West Island with one word, and this kind of small thing was nothing to her. But unless it was the last resort, she would never do it. Besides, there had never been such a precedent in West Island. If it was because he couldn't swallow his pride this time, Ning Shangling clenched her teeth and set a precedent. Then this matter would spread out. What if other friends also came to ask her for help? How should she respond at that time? Furthermore, if someone relied on their friendship to directly ask her for a ready-made Thunder Profound core, what should she do? Once human nature became greedy, it was like a bottomless pit. This kind of thing was not impossible. Lu Ziyu and Ning Shangling had never been friends based on interests, but real good friends. As a friend, of course, she couldn't put the other party in such an awkward situation because of her own selfishness. So, after thinking about it again and again, she could only give up the ready-made way in West Island. In this way, she had very few choices. Although she was the deputy dean of Morning Pride Academy, she, Lu Ziyu, had never been a person who had a wide circle of friends. The number of real friends she had could be counted on one hand, and it was even more impossible to find someone who could help her in this matter. After frowning and thinking for a long time, Lu Ziyu finally sighed and said ambiguously, "This is a big deal. I have to think about it carefully. I'll give you an answer in 2 days." Deputy Dean Liu, the opportunity doesn't come again. You have to think about it carefully. When Ren Zhongyuan heard this, he was instantly a little unwilling. He knew the principle that a long delay could cause trouble. It was best to settle this matter in one go, not giving Huiyuti any chance or leeway to react. Directly saying that it was impossible to disobey the master's orders and get married by imperial decree. Otherwise, if it dragged on for too long, there might be variables. Just as the other party had said, if she missed this opportunity, there wouldn't be another one. Lu Ziyu couldn't help but feel a little troubled. According to her thinking, this matter was definitely reliable, otherwise she wouldn't have considered it so seriously. According to Ren Zhongyuan's suggestion, 3 of the 4 Thunder Profound cores would belong to the master and disciple, and with these 3 Thunder Profound cores, it would be enough to guarantee Huiyuti entering the Profound Ascension stage. This was a good thing that one could only dream of. Moreover, the conditions that Ren Zhongyuan had proposed were not too excessive. In Lu Ziyu's opinion, although Ren Zhongyuan's talent was far inferior to that of Lin Yi, he had one in that he had been infatuated with Dai for so many years. Coupled with his identity and background, he could be considered a rare good match. Even if he wasn't as attractive as Lin Yi, he was definitely not much worse. Moreover, no matter how good Lin Yi's conditions were, he was already the prospective son-in-law of West Island. Huiyuti was destined to have no future with him, so she might as well take this opportunity to break things off. 2 days. I'll give you an accurate answer in 2 days. You can go back first. Lu Ziyu said in a calm tone. Although she was moved, she was a big boss after all, and it was impossible for her to be led by the nose by a small character like Ren Zhongyuan so easily. This matter was related to her precious disciple's lifelong happiness, so she definitely wouldn't make a decision so hastily. Chapter 47:51. Seeing Ren Zhongyuan push open the door and leave, Lu Ziyu sat in the room and let out a long sigh. She was secretly thinking about how she should tell Huiyuti about this matter. She naturally understood her disciple's thoughts, but whether it was out of sentiment or reason, she had to agree to this matter. She mustn't waste time on it. After 2 hours, the sky outside had already darkened. Huiyuti came back, humming a little tune. She pushed open the door and entered happily. In the end, she saw Lu Ziyu sitting in the room the moment she raised her head. "Master, you were waiting for me?" Huiyuti was slightly stunned. Then, she excitedly ran over and hugged Lu Ziyu's arm. She said in a spoiled tone, "Dyer hasn't come back these few days. Master, you won't blame Dyer, right? Girl, you've become too playful. You're having fun by yourself, and you've thrown your master to the back of your mind." Lu Ziyu dotingly tapped her head and asked with a smile, "How is it? How are you getting along with Fei Fei and the others?" "Very good. We're like sisters now. Fei Fei, Jingjing, and Lan are all very kind and adorable girls. They're much better than those in our academy," Huiyuti said, wrinkling her nose. These girls in our academy aren't born into scheming. They're all forced by their environment. Sometimes humans have to lower their heads. They have to learn to let nature take its course and learn to accept their fate. Lu Ziyu guided her with a deep meaning. Master, doesn't everyone say that the ultimate goal of cultivation is to defy the heavens and change one's fate? Why do we have to accept our fate?" Huiyuti asked, blinking her eyes. "Defy the heavens and change one's fate?" Lu Ziyu shook his head and smiled bitterly, sighing emotionally. "It's just empty words. How can there really be anything in this world that can defy the heavens and change one's fate? All living things have a fate that is hard to defy, and although cultivators like us have broken through the limits of our own lifespans, we're merely struggling at death's door between obeying fate and defying fate. If there were really people who could defy the heavens, the heavens would have collapsed long ago. What right do we have to continue living then? Oh, Huyuri nodded, not really understanding. She did not have Lu Ziyu's experience and knowledge. At most, she could only understand the literal meaning of these words. But the true meaning was not something she could understand right now. Oh, right, I haven't asked you yet. You should have seen Lin these few days, right? Lu Ziyu asked. Huyuri's face immediately turned red when she heard this, and she weakly responded in a bashful manner. His face was brimming with happiness. Although she didn't have the chance to be alone with Lin these days, she still felt happy to be able to stay by Lin Yi's side with Ning Shuefei and other close friends. Looking at his disciple's expression of being unable to extricate himself, Lu Ziyu could not help but feel a headache coming on. After thinking for a while, he said, "Since you've already met, then it's time to put an end to the matter between the two of you. After returning to the East Continent in 2 days, you won't have anything to do with him anymore." Ah! Huyuri was originally still immersed in joy, but this time it was as if a bucket of ice water had been poured over her head. She looked at her master in a daze, not knowing how to react. Don't think that master's cruel. You and Lin Yi are destined to be fated, but not to be together. There won't be a good result if you continue to force it. Listen to master, let him go. Lu Ziyu sighed. Then he said, Ren Zhongyuan came today, and he saw the Thunder Xian vine on the table. Hence, he thought of a suggestion. He asked his father to refine the Thunder Xian pill for us. He guaranteed that he would be able to refine 4 pills, and 2 of them would be given to us. He's that kind. Don't tell me there are no other conditions? Huyuri immediately frowned when she heard this. Although she didn't know the exact market, she knew that this bit of Thunder Xian vine could be exchanged for 2 Thunder Xian pills. This was practically free, and she didn't believe that there was such a good thing in the world. There is indeed a condition. He wants to become Dao companions with you, dear. Lu Ziyu said calmly. What? Huyuri was instantly dumbfounded. She looked at Lu Ziyu with a face full of disbelief, and after a long while she asked with a trembling voice, Master, you agreed to it? No. Lu Ziyu shook his head, sighed, and said, This is your marriage, dear. Master won't be so unreasonable and make a decision with a single word. However, I hope that you can agree. Huyuri instantly heaved a sigh of relief and looked at her master in a daze. Why? Master has already said it earlier. Although Lin Yi is good, there is bound to be no outcome between you and him. Rather than being harmed by him in the future, it's better to let him go as soon as possible. Lu Ziyu paused, hugged Huyuri tenderly, and said, Breaking through to the profound ascension realm is not a small matter. This is an extremely important dividing line in our path of cultivation. After profound ascension is the beginning of a great future. But if you suffer a setback at this time, then you can forget about successfully breaking through for the rest of your life. You will forever be stuck at the nascent soul great circle, unable to advance even an inch, and might even continuously regress. Your disciple knows all of this, but Huyuri clenched her teeth, not knowing what to say for a moment. In her opinion, breaking through to the profound ascension realm was admittedly important, but if she couldn't be together with the person she loved because of this, then let alone profound ascension, even if she could directly become an immortal, she still wouldn't be happy. Don't be in a hurry to refuse. Actually, if you think about it carefully, Ren Zhongyuan is also a pretty good match, isn't he? Moreover, his conditions are also very good. Not only did he promise to give us 2 Thunder Profound pills, the remaining 2 will also be equally divided with you, dear. That is to say, out of the 4 pills, 3 will be given to us. For this section of the Thunder Profound Vine, if you go to find another 7th grade pill refiner for help, they might not be able to refine 4 Thunder Profound pills, let alone directly give us 3. Lu Ziyu earnestly advised. Huyuri sank into silence. She obviously knew that Lu Ziyu was doing this for her own good, and everything he did was in consideration for her. Otherwise, why would he lower himself to the point of bargaining with a person like Ren Zhongyuan? However, she had never liked Ren Zhongyuan. She didn't like him in the past, and she disliked him even more now. Even if there was no Lin Yi, she still wouldn't be willing to become a Dao companion with such a person, let alone now that her heart already belonged to someone else. She was extremely unwilling in her heart, but Hu Yudi couldn't ignore her master's good intentions. In this world where a master's life was greater than the heavens, Lu Xiu being able to not make the decision to betroth her to Ren Zhongyuan and instead earnestly advise her face to face, this in itself was already very pampering. Chapter 4752. After all, Hu Yudi was her precious disciple who she treated as her own daughter. She really couldn't bear to force her too much. However, she had no choice but to say these words. This concerned her future, and she couldn't just watch as Hu Yudi personally destroyed her future. Hu Yudi sat in the room in a daze. Her mind was blank. She knew that she couldn't hesitate in this kind of matter. No matter what, she had to quickly sort out her thoughts and make a decision as soon as possible. However, her brain wouldn't listen to her. She couldn't think of anything and could only stare blankly. After a sleepless night, Hu Yudi only woke up when the first rays of the morning sun shone on her face through the window and she heard the chirping of birds outside. She forced herself to compose herself and walked out of the room in a daze. After leaving the room, Hu Yudi went straight to Lin Yi's group. She wasn't looking for Lin Yi's help, but something they'd agreed to do yesterday. They'd agreed to swim at the beach nearby. By the time Hu Yudi arrived, Lin Yi and the others were already prepared. Ning Xuefei and the others were all dressed in common world attire, looking young and pretty. They even had swimsuits and caps prepared, all of which were arranged from Lin Yi's jade space. Lin Yi was shocked the first time he saw these swimsuits. Why did Qintian put these things in? And there were all kinds of sizes and styles. He didn't know what the kid was thinking, but it came in handy now. Sister Hua, hurry up. Let's go. Shang Guanlan waved from afar. She couldn't wait to go to the seaside and change into this trendy swimsuit. Ning Xuefei and Han Jingjing also waved at her. It seemed that they couldn't wait. They're here. Hu Yudi forced a smile and hurriedly quickened her pace towards them. Sister Hua, look, this is the swimsuit we picked for you. Do you like it? Before Hua Yudi got close, Ning Xuefei and the others took out a bikini mysteriously. Lin Yi's eyelids twitched as he subconsciously glanced at Hu Yudi's curvaceous body. He couldn't help but swallow a mouthful of saliva. With this girl's body and such a sexy bikini, he was going to have a nosebleed today. What is this? Hu Yudi took it and looked at it from top to bottom. In her eyes, this bikini was just two small pieces of cloth. It couldn't cover anything at all, especially after noticing Lin Yi's reaction. She couldn't help but blush. Is this also a dress? Of course it's clothes. This is the most popular style in the secular world. Sister Hua, do you want to try it now? Hee. Han Jingjing winked mischievously. Ah. Hu Yudi was startled. No matter how interested she was in the secular world, she was still a very conservative woman from the Heaven Stage Island. How could he dare to wear such clothes all of a sudden? He shook his head and said, I can't, why not? How would you know if you don't try? I believe sister will look good in it, Ning Xuefei said with a smile. Yes, yes. Anyway, there are no outsiders today. Sooner or later, little junior brother will see it. There's no better time than now. Shanghai Laner smiled and grabbed the bikini to show it to Hu Yudi. If it was a few days ago, Hu Yudi might really give it a try after being egged on like this. However, she really wasn't in the mood today. She could only smile bitterly and shake her head. Sister Hua, why do I feel that you are a little depressed? Is something wrong? Ning Xuefei was the first to notice her strangeness. After looking at the others, she immediately asked, Yes, we are best friends and sisters. Sister Hua, you can't hide anything from us, Han Jingjing said immediately. Yesterday, when they were talking about swimwear, they were eager to try it. However, now they suddenly became listless. She also vaguely guessed that there must be something wrong. If there's anything, just say it. Don't bear it alone. You still have us. Lin Yi also saw that there was something wrong with Hui Yudi. This girl was not a person who could hide her thoughts, not to mention that she didn't sleep all night and her eyes were bloodshot. Hui Yudi looked at everyone hesitantly, until she met Lin Yi's eyes. She suddenly felt wronged for no reason. Her eyes instantly turned red. Under the repeated questioning of Lin Yi and the others, she finally told them what happened last night. After listening to Hui Yudi's narration, Lin Yi couldn't help but be speechless. He himself was an alchemist who couldn't be calculated with common sense. Originally, this kind of thing just happened to come in handy. However, the Thunder Xian pill was a 7th grade medicinal pill. He had tried to refine a variety of 7th grade medicinal pills several times before. The result was, without exception, all failures. Until now, Lin Yi still hadn't been able to sum up the reason. At first, he thought that it was because his true qi was not strong enough to refine 7th grade medicinal pills. However, after thinking about it, if it was really because of this reason, then it was simply impossible to refine medicinal pills. However, every time he failed, he could at least enter the normal procedure. If it was something else, Lin Yi thought that with his strength and all kinds of connections, he could still boast about it. However, when it came to refining the Thunder Xian pill, he really had no way. Yudi, although I can also refine medicinal pills, perhaps because my level is not enough, I can't refine 7th grade medicinal pills for the time being. But I can guarantee that in the future, there will definitely be a way to break through. Looking at Hui Yudi's crying expression, Lin Yi could only bite the bullet and persuade her. When Hui Yudi heard this, she couldn't help but feel a little disappointed, although she also knew that this kind of thing was not very possible. For a super genius like Lin Yi, it was already very surprising that he had the leisure to become an alchemist. If he really could even refine 7th grade medicinal pills, then he could only be the illegitimate child of God. Super geniuses also had a limit. How could there be a person who was proficient in everything? How could they let others live? Ha 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 ha. While Lin Yi and Hui Yudi were frowning, Ning Xuefei, who was at the side, suddenly burst into laughter. She laughed so hard that she couldn't catch her breath and couldn't straighten her back for a long time. Fei, what are you doing? Elder sister Hua is worried about something. Why are you still laughing? You are really heartless. Shangguan later pouted and asked. Lin Yi and Hui Yudi also looked at her, not knowing why she suddenly laughed. Wait a minute, let me catch my breath first. This matter is really too funny. Ning Xuefei didn't care about everyone's strange expression. She couldn't help but rub her stomach, and after resting for a while, she replied, Actually, the matter of refining a 7th grade medicinal pill is not because Lin Yi's level is not good, but because your medicine cauldron naturally cannot refine 7th grade medicinal pills. Chapter 47:53. It wasn't that he hadn't thought about this before, but the Shinnong medicine cauldron's heaven-defying performance was too deeply rooted in his heart, so he subconsciously felt that it was impossible. The possibility of the Shinnong medicine cauldron having a problem was much smaller than the possibility of him having a problem. He didn't expect this to be the reason. Then, Fei, why are you still laughing? The problem with the medicine cauldron is also a problem, and it's even more difficult to solve. You still have the mood to laugh at this time? Sister, who will be forced to marry that hypocrite Ran Zhongyuan. Shanghai Laner said as she pounced on her and pinched her. Ning Xuefei quickly dodged and giggled at the same time. Of course it's funny. This is actually a very simple problem that can be solved in a short time. But all of you are so sad. Isn't this funny? Jing, what do you think? It's okay, it's a little funny. Han Jingjing's mouth also had a trace of an indescribable smile, and she covered her mouth as she laughed. What do you mean? What's the problem with the Shinnong medicine cauldron that can be solved in a short time? Lin Yi was confused, and he quickly took Han Jingjing's hand and asked, Brother Lin Yi, don't worry. In fact, strictly speaking, this is not the Shinnong medicine cauldron's problem. The hardware is fine, but the software inside needs to be upgraded. Han Jingjing giggled. Software? Lin Yi was stunned, and he didn't understand for a moment. What hardware and software? Where did this come from? Yes, the main reason the Shinnong medicine cauldron can automatically refine pills is that Jingjing set up an intelligent analysis formula in the computer, right? Han Jingjing smiled, and when she saw Lin Yi nod, she continued to explain. The problem is that when Jingjing set up this formula, she didn't come into contact with such a high level. I have never come into contact with such a high level of knowledge. Most of the things in it are deduced purely from data, so the fact that this formula can persist until the 6th grade pill is still effective is already far beyond Jingjing's expectations. As for the 7th grade pill, Jingjing never thought that it would be of such a high level. Then what should we do? Although there were still some parts that he didn't understand, Lin Yi roughly understood. Just based on data deduction, it could reach the 6th grade pill. Han Jingjing was indeed a peerless genius. It's simple. Just ask Jingjing to help you level up, Ning Xuefei said with a smile. That's right, why am I so stupid? Looking at Han Jingjing, who was covering her mouth and laughing, Lin Yi slapped his forehead. Since Han Jingjing, the inventor, was beside him, upgrading the software was a piece of cake for her. No matter what, there were no outsiders around. Lin Yi immediately took out the godly pesticide cauldron. Huyuri was shocked again. Her attention was immediately diverted. She pointed at Lin Yi and the cauldron dumbfoundedly and said, Where did you come from? She had wanted to ask this question during the trial. If she could accept Lin Yi conjuring up pastries and clothes at the start, then when he collected the Thunder Mystic Vine, and especially when he made Scarface's pile of treasures disappear into thin air, there was no way to explain it. However, either the situation was urgent, or she was immersed in surprise and couldn't extricate herself. She had never thought of asking about it, but now that Lin Yi suddenly conjured an alchemy cauldron out of thin air, if she didn't ask clearly, she would think that she was hallucinating. Hee, big brother Lin Yi, explain it properly. I'll help you level up now. Han Jingjing took the godly pesticide cauldron with a smile and brought Ning Xuefei and Shanghai Laner to the research room. Huyuri was left looking at him in a daze. Lin Yi smiled bitterly and spread his hands. He felt that there was no need to hide anything from her. So he explained, Actually, I have a very unique jade pendant with me, which carries a mysterious, independent space. As long as I think about it, I can put things from the outside world in it, and I can also take things out from it. Do you understand now? There's such a thing? Huyuri suddenly covered her mouth in surprise. She thought that it would be some brilliant camouflage, or that Lin Yi had an exquisite array that could be carried around. Although this kind of thing was rare, there had always been similar legends circulating in the streets. She didn't expect the answer to be so simple. Lin Yi had a magical jade pendant. Well, there are always some magical things that happen to me. You'll get used to it slowly. But remember to keep this a secret. Only you know about it. Lin Yi chuckled. Get used to it slowly? Listening to Lin Yi's calm tone, Huyuri could only roll her eyes speechlessly. She didn't know what to say. She was not a newcomer. After all, she was an expert at the great perfection of the Yuanying stage. Moreover, she was in a place like the East Continent College. Her knowledge was far from that of ordinary cultivators. Even so, she had never heard of such a strange thing as a jade pendant space. However, Lin Yi's words made Huyuri's heart jump. Lin Yi looked at Huyuri's expression and smiled. He didn't say anything. As the two talked, they came to Ning Xuefei's research room. At this time, Han Jingjing was focused on updating the AI analysis formula. Her 10 fingers were moving back and forth on the keyboard. Even with Lin Yi's eyesight, it was difficult for him to accurately capture her movements. He could only see a blurry shadow of her fingers, let alone others. Looking at this exaggerated scene, Huiyuti couldn't help but cover her mouth again. She looked at Han Jingjing with eyes full of admiration. She was a typical example of someone who didn't understand. Previously, she thought that Han Jingjing was a cute and innocent girl who wasn't very strong. But now that she saw it, this girl was simply a genius. Sure enough, Lin Yi was full of magic everywhere. Lin Yi and Huiyuti waited quietly at the side. He obviously couldn't interfere in updating the AI analysis formula. Han Jingjing could only rely on herself. After 2 years of nurturing, Ning Xuefei, who had a little understanding of this, helped her. As for Shanghai Laner and Little Curly Bear, they were purely there to help. After about an hour, Han Jingjing suddenly stopped. She wiped the fine sweat on her forehead and smiled sweetly at Lin Yi. Big brother Lin Yi, now you can refine a 7th grade medicinal pill. It's done so quickly? Lin Yi was overjoyed when he heard this. It was not an exaggeration to say that the AI analysis formula was the top technology in the secular world. He thought that Han Jingjing would have to work hard for a few days. He didn't expect it to be done in just an hour. This efficiency was really surprising. Chapter 4754. She then urged, Big brother Lin Yi, hurry up and try it. If it doesn't work, I can improve it on the spot. Okay, I'll start the furnace now. Lin Yi immediately asked Ning Xuefei to find a special alchemy room, took out all the materials, and was ready to start the furnace. Huiyuti hurried back to get the Thunder Xianrat Tan. Although Lin Yi had more Thunder Xianrat Tan than her, he was refining pills for her this time. She thought it was reasonable for her to provide them. Seeing that Huiyuti insisted, Lin Yi couldn't say anything to her. Anyway, he had already regarded her as one of his own. Since she was one of his own, she would have a share of the good stuff in the future. It didn't matter whose Thunder Xianrat Tan he used this time. In order to refine the Thunder Xian pill, in addition to the core material of the Thunder Xianrat Tan, he also needed a variety of auxiliary materials. Although Lin Yi's material reserves had begun to take shape, he couldn't have all of them. Coincidentally, among the treasures of heaven and earth that he had extorted from the scarred man before, he had made up for the 2 missing materials. Everything was ready. Seeing that Lin Yi was sorting the materials and adjusting his state, Huiyuti and the others watched from afar. They didn't even dare to breathe heavily, for fear that they would affect Lin Yi. External disturbances were the most important during the process of alchemy. The ideal situation was, of course, for Lin Yi to refine pills in seclusion alone. However, the situation was special this time, and he needed Han Jingjing to watch the scene. He simply let Huiyuti and the others come in to watch the show. Anyway, they were all on the same side, and they had their own sense of propriety. He counted the Thunder Xianrat Tan and other auxiliary materials one by one, and put them all into the divine pesticide cauldron. Lin Yi took a deep breath and immediately started the alchemy program. Listening to Han Jingjing's voice on the tablet, Huiyuti couldn't help but widen her eyes. However, Ning Xuefei and Shanghai Laner, who were next to her, didn't seem surprised at all. They had seen the situation of Lin Yi refining pills a long time ago. As Lin Yi said, they were already used to it. Everything was normal, and the tablet quickly calculated the alchemy curve. Lin Yi took a closer look and suddenly found that this alchemy curve was completely different from what he had tried before. In the previous attempts, although they weren't Thunder Profound pills, they were all 7th grade elixirs. At first glance, the alchemy curve seemed to be very different, but in fact they had one thing in common, and that was the middle and early alchemy curves were very complicated and tortuous. But once it reached the later stages, all of them looked very pleasing to the eye in classic arcs, without exception. However, it was different this time. Not only was the alchemy curve full of twists and turns in the beginning and middle stages, but the later stages were even more obscure and difficult to understand. The twists and turns were extremely complicated. Compared to the classic arcs from before, it was simply ugly to the point of making one's hair stand on end. Lin Yi subconsciously turned his head to look at Han Jingjing and saw her nod at him. His heart instantly calmed down, and he faintly understood something. The reason why the previous alchemy curves were beautiful was that they were purely based on data deduction. That was a perfect curve that only existed in the ideal. It was impossible to exist in reality. It would be strange if there were no problems in the alchemy process blindly according to the ideal curve that was a castle in the air. Lin Yi's heart was settled, and he immediately input true qi according to the instructions of the tablet, and the divine pesticide cauldron began to buzz. All the women, except for Han Jingjing, couldn't help but show a nervous look, especially Hui Yuri, whose little heart was pounding. The success of this alchemy was directly related to her lifelong event, and she couldn't fail. Everyone knew. Every time the level of the medicinal pill increased by a grade, it meant that the difficulty of alchemy would increase significantly. This difficulty was not just an increase of 1 or 2 times, but at least 10 times and 100 times. Some special medicinal pills may even reach 1,000 times. This gap was much bigger than the gap in strength. Otherwise, high-grade alchemists would not be so rare. Every grade was an insurmountable gap. Looking at the Heaven Stage Island, except for the Eastern continent, the 3rd and 4th grade alchemists were not rare. But when it came to the 5th and 6th grade, it was already the top guess that all the forces would compete to win over. As for the 7th grade alchemists, only those top forces could have them, and there was only one, and their status was extremely aloof. Although Hui Yuri had a faint, almost blind confidence in Lin Yi, but for him to be able to refine the Thunder Profound pill, she actually did not have any confidence in her heart. If the Thunder Profound pill was so easy to refine, then her master would not have such a headache and even lower himself to bargain with Ren Zhongyuan. Regardless of whether he could refine the Thunder Profound pill or not, Hui Yuri just saw that Lin Yi was willing to try so hard for her, and she was already very moved. As for what to do if he failed, she could only take one step at a time. Time passed by. Everyone's heart was always tight. From time to time, the god's armament cauldron would make some strange movements, and every time, Lin Yi and Hui Yuri were scared. In particular, there was a time when the electric arc ran all over the room, and it was like a lightning strike, which really scared everyone. In the process of refining the Thunder Profound pill, a little carelessness would cause the furnace to explode. This was not a joke. At that time, Lin Yi was even ready to forcibly withdraw his true qi and take the girls to take refuge. But fortunately, the process was only a short moment, and after the amazing electric arc ran around for a while, it quickly dissipated, which made everyone feel a little relieved. For a whole day and a night, Lin Yi and the others finally managed to survive to the end. This time was not a long time for high-level cultivators like them, but during the whole process, they were always on tenterhooks. From time to time, there would be abnormal movements, and even dangerous electric arcs would run around the god's armament cauldron. This was not an alchemy furnace. It was simply an unpredictable time bomb. This kind of mental pressure was not something that ordinary people could bear, and if their psychological quality was slightly poor, it was not impossible for them to collapse on the spot. Fortunately, everyone's mind was still quite tough. Listening to the sound of the tablet indicating the end of the alchemy, and seeing the god's armament cauldron completely silent, Lin Yi and the others looked at each other with lingering fear, and simultaneously let out a long breath of turbid air. Little junior brother, quickly see if it's done. Shangguan Laner couldn't wait to urge, and several others also showed a look of anticipation. This was especially true for Hui Yuri. Although she didn't have much hope in the beginning, she couldn't help but feel that she was lucky. The entire process seemed to be very serious. What if it really succeeded? Chapter 47:55. Don't worry, this should be the residual thunder power of the Thunder Xian vine. Don't worry, you guys step back a bit. Lin Yi instructed, and then continued to carefully stick his head inside. He was actually shocked, but with the warning of the jade pendant, he was not afraid of being caught off guard. Hua Yudi and the others looked at each other and nervously looked at Lin Yi. Fortunately, there were no dangerous electric arcs this time, but Lin Yi's reaction was a bit abnormal. He was actually stunned and didn't move. Lin Yi, Hua Yudi carefully asked, afraid that he would be in danger again, but Lin Yi turned a deaf ear and didn't respond at all. This time Ning Xuefei and the others couldn't help but become nervous. They looked at each other and wanted to rush forward to see what was going on. But at this time, Lin Yi finally raised his head and looked at the women with an inexplicable, strange expression. How is it? How is it? Shangguan Laner quickly asked. I originally thought that these materials were at least enough to refine one Thunder Xian pill. And if luck was good, it was not impossible to refine two, but... Lin Yi's gaze finally fell on Hua Yudi. He wanted to say something, but stopped. Could it be that it failed? Hua Yudi's face suddenly paled, but this was also within her expectations. She could only force a smile and said, "It doesn't matter if it failed, then it failed. In fact, this is also quite good. In any case, the Thunder Xian vine has already been used up by me, so Master doesn't need to go and make a deal with Ren Zhongyuan." Ning Xuefei and the others couldn't help but look at each other. Although this was what she said, Hua Yudi would definitely be heavily punished by her master. After all, this was not a small matter, and in the end, Ren Zhongyuan might still succeed. Lin Yi, however, shook his head with an unfathomable expression. He changed the subject and asked, "You Dai, what did you say before? With just these thunder mystic vines, how many thunder mystic pills can Ren Zhongyuan's father guarantee he can refine?" 4. Hua Yudi thought for a moment. She then added in a comforting manner, "But this is only what Ren Zhongyuan said. Who knows if he is talking nonsense or not? Maybe he can't even refine it. It's just a lie." 4. I don't know if he's lying, but it's not impossible. Lin Yi shook his head with a strange expression. He reached into the divine armament cauldron and opened his palm. There were a few crystal, clear, dark blue pills inside, and there were faint signs of electric arcs flashing in them. Even if the girls hadn't seen it with their own eyes before, how could they not react when they saw such obvious characteristics? Yes, this was the legendary Thunder Xian core. 4. Hua Yudi carefully looked at it and was immediately stunned. Lin Yi actually refined 4 Thunder Profound pills in one go. This was a level that could only be achieved by a top-notch 7-stage alchemist. With such strength, one could easily become the chief alchemist of any Yellow Stage Academy in the East Continent. Look again. Lin Yi shook his head with a smile, and then his other hand reached into the divine armament cauldron and opened it. Hua Yudi almost fainted on the spot. Another 4. This time, even Ning Xuefei and Shangguan Laner all widened their eyes and were speechless for a long time. Hua Yudi only had a small piece of Thunder Xian vine, but there were 8 Thunder Xian pills at once. This was not a dream, right? Even for those top 7-stage alchemists, it was very difficult to refine 4 at once. But 8, a full double. Even if you think with your toes, you know that this is simply impossible. But no matter how unbelievable it is, the fact is that 8 Thunder Xian pills are neatly placed in front of you. You have to believe it. Hua Yudi was completely dumbfounded. She rubbed her eyes furiously until the corner of her eye twitched. Only then did she confirm that she wasn't hallucinating. She walked to Lin Yi's side and said, "Pinch me, I'll see if I'm dreaming. I haven't had such a realistic dream for a long time." "Don't worry, you're really not dreaming. This is real. 8 Thunder Xian pills." Lin Yi didn't know whether to laugh or cry as he shook his head. In fact, he also felt that it was incredible. Because of his trust in Han Jingjing, he was confident that he could succeed this time, but he really didn't think that there would be so many. It Must be known that even if he had prepared sufficient materials in advance, it would only be enough for 4 Thunder Xian pills at most. Because of the previous Zhong Yuan's words, he subconsciously thought so. He never thought that there would be twice as many. Now that he thought about it, it was estimated that Han Jingjing had made further optimization and improvement on the medicinal cauldron, which led to this unexpected overproduction. Han Jingjing, on the other hand, had a calm smile on her face the entire time, and it was as if he was looking at that confident woman, Lu Jinghan. But the next moment, Han Jingjing returned to that cute smile of hers. No wonder the entire alchemy process was so unusual, making it so thrilling. It turned out that she had prepared such a big surprise for everyone. Ning Xuefei and the others cheered at the side. Only then did Hui Yudi accept the reality, and she couldn't help but say, "How is your secular world so powerful? To actually have such a magical alchemy artifact, it's too heaven-defying. And that Kai Zi from before, his divine weapon, is also frighteningly strong. It's really subverting common sense." "Who's Kai Zi?" Han Jingjing interrupted and asked. "Kai Zi is Kong Mingming, the nickname she gave him." Lin Yi smiled and explained. "No, it's obviously the nickname you gave him. You said he was Kai Zi. I didn't know what Kai Zi meant at first." Hui Yudi pouted and retorted in a good mood. "Then do you know what it means now?" Lin Yi looked at her with a smile that wasn't a smile. "Ah." Hui Yudi was stunned, and then she asked weakly, "Oh, right, what does Kai Zi mean?" When the girls heard this, they immediately burst into laughter. Although Hui Yudi most of the time in front of them was the image of a caring sister, when it came to things involving the secular world, she completely didn't know. This can't be explained in a few words. Anyway, Kong Mingming is a typical Kai Zi. You can understand it that way. Lin Yi laughed, then immediately took out 3 Thunder Xian pills and handed them to Hui Yudi. "Okay, with these 3 Thunder Xian pills, it should be enough to report to your master. I believe she won't say anything else." "Okay, now I don't have to care about that annoying Ren Zhongyuan anymore. Lin Yi, you're so good." Hui Yudi was so happy that she gave Lin Yi a hug on the spot, until she felt the playful gazes of Ning Xuefei and the others around her. Only then did she embarrassedly withdraw with a red face. She was not an open girl. This was purely because she was too excited. Chapter 47-56. There are still 5 Thunder Xian pills here. Jing, Fei Fei, and Lan, each of you can have 1. As for the remaining 2, I'm going to give them to my 2 friends. Do you have any objections?" Lin Yi suggested with a smile. The friends he mentioned were Qi Wenhan and Xia Luoluo. Qi Wenhan was one of his own, and since Xia Luoluo was about to call him sister-in-law, she naturally couldn't be left out either. "What about yourself? Won't you have none left?" Hui Yudi couldn't help but ask. "It doesn't matter. I have the Thunder Xian Rot 10 anyway. I also have enough supplementary materials. If I need them, I can refine them at any time. According to the results this time, the Thunder Xian Rot 10 I have should be enough to refine 32 Thunder Xian pills. This is a relatively conservative estimate." Lin Yi faintly smiled. "Thank you, big brother Lin Yi." Han Jingjing took the Thunder Xian pill from Lin Yi's hand and imitated Hui Yudi's action just now to give him a hug. She didn't blush or feel embarrassed because of this kind of thing. After all, in the secular world, this could only be regarded as a greeting gift. First it was Hui Yudi, then it was Han Jingjing. Now it was Ning Xuefei's turn to do the same. Although she was a native of Heaven Stage Island like Hui Yudi, at least in name, she was Lin Yi's fiancée. Just a hug was no big deal. Lin Yi also didn't expect things to develop like this. After enjoying the soft jade and warm fragrance of the 3 women, it was Shanghai Laner's turn. Everyone was looking at her with mischievous eyes. "Little junior brother, don't tell me you also want me to hug you? I am your senior sister." Shanghai Laner pitifully looked at Lin Yi and said, Lin Yi was about to speak, but he was interrupted by Ning Xuefei. We are not real senior sisters from the same sect. Even if we are real senior sisters, there are many senior sisters and junior brothers who become Dao companions. Lan, you have already been seen naked by him. What is there to be bashful about? See light? Hui Yuri was shocked when she heard this. She looked at Shangguan Laner in disbelief. She had never thought that Shangguan Laner and Lin had already reached this stage. I'm not the only one. Feifei, aren't you the same? You were seen naked by junior brother the first time you met him, even earlier than me. Shangguan Laner retorted proudly. Feifei, you too? Hui Yuri suddenly felt even more dizzy. It turned out that not only Shangguan Laner, but also Ning Xuefei. She was the princess of West Island. That was an accident. Ning Xuefei blushed and tried to defend herself. He turned to look at Han Jingjing and asked, Jingjing, did Lin Yi see you naked? Of course I have. Han Jingjing was not shy at all and admitted it naturally and gracefully. Pooh! Hui Yuri suddenly spurted, especially when the eyes of the three women naturally fell on her body. She was so shy that her pretty face turned red. She quickly waved her hand and said, I didn't, but Sister Hua, you said it yourself. Junior brother also used his mouth to treat the poison for you. He was lying under your skirt. Shangguan Laner's face was full of disbelief. Lin Yi had specially explained the truth about the photo, and he had also asked Hui Yuri herself for confirmation, so they knew about it. But he didn't see me naked. He didn't take off his clothes. Hui Yuri denied shyly. However, Hui Yuri suddenly felt balanced. It turned out that she was not seen by Lin Yi. Compared to them, her scale was much smaller. He only saw her thighs. She was afraid that the three women would laugh at her if they knew about this. It seemed that she was thinking too much. Hee. Then, Sister Hua, how did you change into this denim? When you changed clothes, Brother Lin, you should be able to see it, right? Han Jingjing also joined in excitedly. No, this was changed after I took a shower. He shouldn't be able to see it. Hui Yuri shook her head repeatedly. However, when she saw the increasingly playful expressions of the three women, she immediately knew that she was wrong. The more she tried to explain, the worse it was. Lin Yi didn't know whether to laugh or cry when he saw the scene. It was clearly just distributing the Thunder Xian pill. Why did it inexplicably involve this? In particular, this situation was simply out of control. Shangguan Laner and the others were already urging Hui Yuri to quickly find an opportunity to let her see everything. She even said that good sisters should advance and retreat together. It really made people speechless, just when Hui Yuri was being urged to take off her clothes by the three women. And at this moment, Lu Ziyu was sitting in her room. She looked at the empty black box with a worried expression. The Thunder Xian vine was gone. Lu Ziyu guessed that Hui Yuri had taken it, but she didn't know why she took it. Thinking of how Hui Yuri didn't return for the whole night yesterday, she immediately had a bad feeling. Could it be that Dai took the Thunder Xian vine to do something stupid? Could it be that she wanted to destroy the Thunder Xian vine? Even if she gained nothing, she still didn't want to marry Ren Zhongyan? The more Lu Ziyu thought about it, the more anxious she became. Although Hui Yuri had been very obedient since she was young, she knew that this child had always been very opinionated. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been called an iceberg snow lotus. It was only because she didn't want to disobey her master, that she appeared to be obedient. To be precise, this was filial piety, not obedience. It was fine in the past, but when this filial piety and lifelong happiness stood on opposite sides, it was hard to say what Hui Yuri would choose. It was hard to guarantee that she wouldn't do something stupid. Just as Lu Ziyu's heart was burning with anxiety, the sound of Hui Yuri's footsteps came from outside. She pushed open the door and came in while happily humming a folk song. Seeing Lu Ziyu in the room, she was instantly stunned. Master! Seeing that Hui Yuri's hands were empty, with no sign of the Thunder Xian vine. Lu Ziyu's heart instantly turned cold. That's right, Dai must have given the Thunder Xian vine to someone else and thrown it away. She really didn't want to marry Ren Zhongyuan, even if she died. At this moment, Lu Ziyu's intestines were green with regret. If she had known this would happen, she wouldn't have forced her disciple. Even without Ren Zhongyuan's deal, with the Thunder Xian vine in their hands, they would still be able to think of a way. But now that even the Thunder Xian vine was gone, she might as well not even think of a way. Dai, where's your Thunder Xian vine? Did you throw it away? Lu Ziyu took a deep breath and hurriedly asked. Throw it away? Why would I throw it away? Hua Yudi shook her head in confusion. She shook Lu Ziyu's arm and said with a smile, I gave the Thunder Xian vine to someone else. Gave it to someone else? How can such a thing be given to someone so casually? This concerns your great future, Dai. Lu Ziyu's expression instantly changed, and her gaze became stern. No matter how much she pampered Huyudi, she couldn't make a mistake on this matter of principle. Chapter 47:57. No matter what it is, you can't use the Thunder Xian vine to exchange for it. There are only a few treasures in the world that are more precious than the Thunder Xian vine. Even if there really is one, it's not as important as the Thunder Xian vine to you right now. Lu Ziyu said bitterly, This isn't a treasure. Master, you'll know once you open it. Hui Yudi urged. Shaking her head helplessly, Lu Ziyu had no choice but to open the box. With just a glance at the item in the box, this big shot of Morning Pride Academy was instantly dumbfounded. She couldn't help but exclaim, Thunder Xian pill? And it's 3? That's right. Now we don't have to bother with that annoying Ren Zhongyuan anymore. Hua Yudi hugged Lu Ziyu's arm and wrinkled her nose proudly. Ren Zhongyuan's 3 Thunder Xian pills could at most be counted as an expected gain. Whether they could get it or not was another matter. But now there were actually 3 Thunder Xian pills. It was completely different. What's going on? Dai, or where did you get it? Lu Ziyu hurriedly asked in shock. Her first reaction after seeing the Thunder Xian pills was shock, not happiness, but worry. She thought that her disciple had taken the Thunder Xian vine and secretly exchanged it with Ning Xuefei for ready-made Thunder Xian pills. Looking at the entire West Island, the only one who had the ability to take out 3 Thunder Xian pills and had a close relationship with Huyudi was Ning Xuefei, the princess of the West Island. They had been very close these few days, even sleeping on the same bed. Although this was a strategic resource, and strictly speaking, even Ning Shangling, the lord of the West Island, couldn't use it easily, and Ning Xuefei couldn't possibly make such a serious mistake. But the little girl was hot-headed. For the lifelong happiness of a good friend, it wasn't impossible for her to do such a thing under the radar. Thinking of this, Lu Ziyu couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat. No matter what, she had to return these 3 Thunder Xian pills as soon as possible. Otherwise, once the matter was exposed, she really wouldn't be able to explain herself. However, Huyudi's next words instantly made her dumbfounded. These were all refined by Lin Yi. Lin Yi? He's an alchemist, and a 7th grade alchemist? How is that possible? When Lu Ziyu heard this, he was dumbfounded. He looked at Huyudi in disbelief. She thought that her precious disciple was joking, but Huyudi's expression clearly told her that it was all true. Yeah, Lin, he didn't even mention it to me. He's very powerful, right? Huyudi's face was full of pride and happiness. Are you serious? He actually managed to refine 3 Thunder Profound pills in one go, and he even managed to form them so quickly? Lu Ziyu was still unable to imagine it. The fact that Lin Yi was a level 7 alchemist was already unimaginable. However, even if this was true, even so, it was impossible to refine 3 Thunder Profound pills in such a short time. How long had it been? It had only been a little more than a day, right? Wrong, it's not 3, it's 8. Hui Yudi corrected. Don't. Lu Ziyu lost her balance and almost fell. She barely managed to support herself by leaning against the table. Her expression was indescribable. The corners of her lips were twitching. 8. Yeah, then I ask for 3. Hui Yudi nodded, looking at Hui Yudi's serious expression, looking at the 3 thunder profound pills in her hand. Lu Ziyu couldn't help but pinch herself. Only then did she ascertain that she wasn't dreaming. She looked at her precious disciple speechlessly. It wasn't because Hui Yudi asked for too little. That bit of thunder profound vine in exchange for 3 thunder profound pills was simply a huge benefit. There was no bigger pie than this. If it were the majority of the 7th grade alchemists, they would already be satisfied if they could get 1 thunder profound pill. Furthermore, they would have to use all kinds of supplementary materials as well as tens of thousands of spirit jades and hard work. As for Ren Zhongyuan, although he confidently swore that he could give 3, the prerequisite was that he had to sell Hui Yudi to him. The price was not something that could be measured by a mere tens of thousands of spirit jades. Lu Ziyu couldn't help but be a little shocked. Powerful strength, outstanding talent, and actually able to easily refine 8 thunder profound pills in a day. Lin Yi was also heaven-defying. No wonder Ning Shangling would think so highly of him. It had to be said that his own insight was far too lacking compared to this old friend of his. He had clearly heard her talk about Lin Yi's various miracles, but in the end he had still underestimated this young man. He had even almost forced to miss this opportunity. Thinking up to here, Lu Ziyu immediately blushed with shame, feeling that he had no face to meet anyone. Master, are you all right? Hui Yudi looked at Lu Ziyu's burning red cheeks and couldn't help but blink. Oh, I'm fine. Lu Ziyu laughed awkwardly. Only then did he react and asked. Lin Yi was able to refine 8 thunder profound pills. He should have used all of his thunder profound vines, right? This speculation was reasonable. If Hui Yudi's thunder profound vines could refine 8, then wouldn't thunder profound pills be like cabbages? How could there be such cheap and high-yield thunder profound pills? No, it's just my thunder profound vines. He hasn't even touched those. If he used them all to refine, he said that he could at least refine another 32. Hui Yudi shook her head. Thump. This time, Lu Ziyu couldn't even support herself on the table and was about to fall over subconsciously. As a big shot of the East Continent Academy, she almost fell to the ground. Luckily, Hui Yudi had quick reflexes and hurriedly stuffed a stool in front of her. Otherwise, she would have really fallen to the ground. 32. Seeing Hui Yudi nod her head repeatedly, Lu Ziyu really regretted it, so much that her intestines turned green. It wasn't because of Ren Zhongyuan's deal, but because when those 2 brats had taken photos as evidence of Hui Yudi and Lin Yi having sex in the training grounds, how good would it have been if she had acknowledged them on the spot? Although doing so would have affected her disciple's reputation a little, there wasn't any substantial loss at all, because she could have directly made the decision to let Hui Yudi marry Lin Yi, and no one would have said anything. That way, it wouldn't have been Ning Shangling's turn to pick up such a handsome son-in-law. Sigh, what a blunder! What a blunder! Lu Ziyu stamped her feet and thumped her chest repeatedly. If Hui Yudi wasn't present, she would have given herself 2 tight slaps. Lu Ziyu, you're really old. So old that your eyes are blurry. It was fine if your strength hadn't increased. But how did your foresight become so bad? You almost ruined your disciples' lifelong happiness. If this matter were to spread, how would you have the face to meet others in the future? Chapter 4758. They were both thunder mystical vines. Hui Yudi's mature thunder mystical vine had already been refined into a thunder mystical pill. Kong Xiaoming's unripe thunder mystical vine, on the other hand, was secretly transported away with a few blood bats after registering. Bloody bats were small in size, but they were fierce spirit beasts that could not be underestimated. They were extremely fast and invisible, and a few of them could easily take away the Thunder Xian Rottans. Unless they deliberately slowed down, it was very difficult to detect them, let alone intercept them. However, although there was a monitoring area over West Island, as long as they left this area, basically no disciples of West Island would investigate them. After all, many chambers of commerce also relied on spirit birds for short-distance transportation. Seeing that the bloody bats finally transported the Thunder Xian Rottans away, Su Lingchong and Kong Mingming breathed a sigh of relief at the same time and slumped in their chairs. Since the trial result came out, they had been sitting on pins and needles, and they were almost scared out of their wits. They had thought that after Kong Mingming became the Fuma of West Island, they could sit back and relax. As a result, when Linny came out, this dream was directly shattered. Now, not only could they not become the Fuma of West Island, but even the most basic personal safety became a problem. Whenever a disciple of West Island passed by, they had to act as if they were facing a formidable enemy. After all, they dug away the immature treasure of West Island, and now they were in a very miserable situation in West Island. Not only that, while guarding against the disciples of West Island, they also had to guard against their own people in North Island, such as Lan Tiefu and Ramjia. If these two people asked for it in the name of the high-level officials of North Island, would they give it to them? These two were the top figures of the younger generation. If they didn't give it to them, they would definitely suffer. But if they really gave the Thunder Xian Rottans to them, once the mysterious man blamed them, they would only end up more miserable. Child Su, what should we do next? If those two really come to ask for it, Kong Mingming subconsciously shrank his neck. Now, if they sent the Thunder Xian Rottans away, they could smoothly report to the mysterious man. But if Lan Tiefu and Ramjia really came to find them, they couldn't explain it. I don't think so. This Thunder Xian vine is the spoils of war that we obtained from the trial. They have no reason to take it. Su Lingchong shook his head with a grave expression. He was not confident at all. In fact, this was purely self-comfort. If they got the Thunder Xian Rottan in the normal way, the higher-ups of the North Island certainly had no reason to ask for it. But the problem was that the two of them dug out an immature Thunder Xian Rottan, which made the whole West Island filled with righteous indignation. The higher-ups of the North Island had to give them an explanation. But what if? Kong Mingming looked out of the door guiltily. Now, anyone who passed by outside would make him tremble in fear. There are no ifs. Su Lingchong pretended to be tough, but he still couldn't hide his guilty conscience. He added, I don't have the Thunder Mystic Rottan. I only have my life. Let's see what they can do. Kong Mingming nodded helplessly. This was a hopeless situation. However, there was no other choice at the moment. He could only follow what Su Lingchong said. However, he suddenly thought of a more important question. What if Lin Yi comes to find trouble with us? Damn it, we have to fight. Su Lingchong gritted his teeth and said, Child Su, why should we fight? He is Ning Shangling's son-in-law now. He can send anyone to kill us. Kong Mingming sighed. Don't worry. After all, he is still a disciple of the North Island. It's a taboo for disciples to kill each other. This is not the trial place. If he dares to do it, the two of them won't watch us suffer losses. Su Lingchong continued to comfort himself. Kong Mingming nodded and said nothing. He thought that Lin Yi dared to do it in the North Island. Not to mention this was the West Island. Besides, if he randomly found a disciple of the West Island to do it, what evidence did he have to prove that it was Lin Yi who did it? In the next few days, the two of them hid in their rooms and didn't go out at all, for fear that they would be brutally beaten to death by the disciples of the West Island as soon as they went out. At that time, if the law failed to punish the masses, they would really die with everlasting regret. However, to their surprise, neither Lan Tiefu nor Ram Jie showed up, as if they really had no interest in the Thunder Xian Ratan in their hands. But on second thought, it was normal. With the strength of those two, they didn't need the Thunder Xian pill at all. A Thunder Xian Ratan alone was really not attractive to them, even if they wanted to give an explanation to the West Island. Su Lingchong's grandfather would take the responsibility. Why would those two do it? At the same time, thousands of miles away, under a secret, uninhabited island a few nautical miles away from the North Island, there was an amazingly huge basement, which even extended to the underwater world. It was a completely different world. At this moment, Miss Luan was sitting in the lab with her legs crossed, looking at the weird rattan that kept flashing with electric arcs across from her through a thick glass. It was the Thunder Xian Rattan that Su Lingchong and Kong Mingming had sent over through the bloody bat. If Lin Yi saw this scene, he would definitely be shocked, because they not only transported the Thunder Xian Rattan here, but also planted it. The most surprising thing was that this place actually had a virtual thunder and lightning environment, and from time to time, lightning struck the Thunder Xian Rattan from all directions. Unlike ordinary treasures of heaven and earth, the Thunder Xian Rattan could only grow in a place with rolling heavenly thunder. The fiercer the lightning, the faster it would grow. Unexpectedly, these people had completely recreated the powerful heavenly thunder of the Heavenly Thunder Formation. Judging from the intensity of the lightning, it seemed that it was even stronger than the Thunder Xian Rattan. It was incredible. Not bad. It seems that your previous efforts were not in vain to be able to create such a powerful thunder and lightning environment in this place. Miss Luan nodded with satisfaction. It's all thanks to Miss Luan for getting so many power-generating equipment from the secular world. As long as we have these things, it won't be a problem. A bespectacled man next to her said modestly, "Well, since the conditions are complete, it's only a matter of time before this Thunder Xian Rattan matures. Next, you have to research a way to mass-produce profound ascending stage masters as soon as possible. This is our current core project. Don't let me down," Miss Luan said in a deep voice. "In addition, be careful not to leak the nuclear reactor that generates electricity. If it attracts mountain opening stage or even sea splitting stage masters, even a nuclear bomb explosion will have no effect on them." "Yes." The bespectacled man quickly nodded in response. West Island, a side courtyard of the island master's palace. The previously set deadline of 2 days had passed. Rin Zhongyuan found an excuse and successfully sneaked in again. He couldn't wait to go straight to Hua Yudi's room. Although this deal was made with Lu Ziyu, in the end, it still fell on Hua Yudi. Chapter 47-59. At this time, Hua Yudi should have already washed up and obediently waited in the room for him to come. His mind was filled with romantic fantasies, but the moment he entered the room, Rin Zhongyuan's expression changed. The situation in the room was the same as the previous time. There was only Lu Ziyu sitting there, and there was no sign of Hua Yudi at all. Could it be that she was shy and had hidden herself? Where's junior sister Yudi? Although girls are thin-skinned, we're already so familiar with each other, so there's no need to be shy, right? Ren Zhongyuan smiled, thinking that he was very gentlemanly. At the same time, he looked around the room, wanting to find Hua Yudi. "You don't need to look. Dyer isn't here. She went to play with Lin Yi." Lu Ziyu looked at him calmly. "What? She went to play with Lin Yi?" Ren Zhongyuan was so angry that he gritted his teeth, not concealing the fury on his face. He looked at Lu Ziyu with an unfriendly expression and said, "Deputy Dean Lu, this isn't right? She's going to get married soon, and you're actually allowing her to go play with other men? This isn't very good." "Get married?" Lu Ziyu smiled non-committally, asking in return, "Marry who?" "Are you talking about Lin Yi? Although he's a good match, it's not possible for now. He's already the prince consort of West Island. This is really quite a pity." "Huh? What are you talking about? What does this have to do with that brat Lin Yi?" Ren Zhongyuan didn't react for a moment. He looked at Lu Ziyu in a daze, not knowing how to react. The situation today was completely different from what he had expected. Why wasn't everything going according to plan? It's nothing. Do you have anything for me? If there's nothing, then hurry up and leave. This is a girl's room, not a place you can come to. Remember, don't do it again, Lu Ziyu said calmly. This time, Ren Zhongyuan was completely stunned. This was completely wrong. He had come to receive Hui Yudi as the victor today. So why did the other party strangely take control of the situation? Lu Ziyu, this old hag, was indeed a big shot in the academy. She clearly had a favor to ask of him. Yet, she was still able to control the tempo with just a few words, making it seem as if he was the one making a request of her. Could it be that she wanted to use this opportunity to raise the price? After sorting out his emotions, Ran Zhongyuan thought that he had seen through the other party's intentions. He immediately grinned and said, Vice Dean Lu, we're all smart people, so you don't have to pretend to be ignorant. Aren't you afraid that doing this will backfire and force me to take back the generous conditions I promised before? What conditions? Did I promise you anything previously? Lu Ziyu looked at Ran Zhongyuan with a hint of a smile. Ran Zhongyuan suddenly became speechless, thinking in his heart that this old woman was really difficult to deal with. If this went on, he would definitely be led by the nose by her, so he could only go straight to the point and said, Vice Dean Lu, you won't release the eagle without seeing the rabbit, but forget it. I am a junior, so you give me the Thunder Xian vine now, and later ask my father to directly send you the Thunder Xian pill after refining it. This should be no problem, right? Oh, you're talking about this matter. The Thunder Xian vine has already been refined into a Thunder Xian pill, so there's no need to trouble you anymore. Thank you, Lu Ziyu said calmly. What, already refined the Thunder Xian pill? That's impossible. How can it be so fast? Even my father needs at least 3 days and 3 nights to refine the pill. Vice Dean Lu, you can't lie to me about this kind of thing. Ran Zhongyuan sneered, subconsciously thinking that Lu Ziyu was lying to him, thinking that this old woman still wanted to raise the price. There's always someone better than you. There's nothing impossible in this world. Look for yourself, isn't this it? Lu Ziyu took out the box that Hui Yudi had given her and placed it on the table. Ren Zhongyuan looked on helplessly as she opened the box, and when he saw what was inside, he instantly felt as if he had been struck by lightning. Astonishingly, there were 3 neatly arranged Thunder Xian pills inside. What? They actually gave you 3 Thunder Xian pills? Who refined them for you? This is impossible. Absolutely impossible. Ren Zhongyuan was practically about to go crazy. 2 days ago, it was just a section of Thunder Xian vine, and in the blink of an eye, it had become 3 ready-made Thunder Xian pills. Was he seeing things, or had the world gone crazy? What? Are you doubting me? Seeing that Ran Zhongyuan was actually about to rush over to take a closer look, Lu Ziyu's calm expression suddenly turned cold, and an incomparably majestic aura instantly pressed down on the other party's head. This big shot of Morning Pride Academy was obviously angry, suddenly being suppressed by such a powerful aura. Even a nascent soul paragon expert like Ran Zhongyuan could not bear it. He staggered and almost made a fool of himself on the spot. Ran Zhongyuan instantly broke out in a cold sweat, and only now did he realize that he had really been too complacent. He had thought that by relying on the sweet taste of the Thunder Xian pill, he would definitely be able to deal with the master and disciple pair. He had completely forgotten that the other party was a big shot of the academy. How could such an existence be so easily controlled by him? You're still not leaving? Could it be that you want me to invite you? Seeing that Ren Zhongyuan's expression was uncertain and he was still hesitating, Lu Ziyu could not help but let out a cold snort. She was really a little angry. This Brett really did not know the immensity of heaven and earth. If not for the fact that he had a bit of a background, she would have long since punished him. No, I'll leave right now, Ren Zhongyuan did not dare to stay any longer, and hurriedly left in a daze. When he went out, he even knocked into the door frame, and tears came out from the pain. Looking at Ren Zhongyuan's clown-like back, Lu Ziyu shook her head repeatedly. She did not know why she felt that this brat was actually worthy of 2 days ago. Compared to Lin Yi, this kind of trash was like the difference between heaven and earth. Although there were times when anyone would make a mistake, this time around, Lu Ziyu had not only made a mistake, she was simply blind. Luckily, she had not made a huge mistake, or else it would be too late for regrets. Unknowingly, in Lu Ziyu's heart, Lin Yi had already become the best choice for her disciple. Although other than Ning Xuefei and Hui Yudi, Lin Yi still maintained very subtle, ambiguous relationships with girls like Han Jingjing and Shangguan Laner. Shanghai Tianhua and Ning Shangling did not say anything. So what else did she have to say? The thoughts and foresight of these two old friends were much more brilliant than her, the academy's vice headmaster. Their tacit agreement to remain silent meant that they had tacitly approved and connived with Lin Yi. What did this mean? No one was a fool. Facing a super genius like Lin Yi, all so-called rules and traditions were just fleeting clouds. There would always be people in this world who could transcend the rules, and Lin Yi was clearly one of them. Shanghai Tianhua and Ning Shangling understood this better than anyone else. Chapter 4760. At this time, at the edge of West Island, in an uninhabited cave near the endless sea, two people were sitting, and they were exchanging cups with great interest. Although this place was on the shore because it was too close to the sea, any wave could submerge the cave. Sometimes sea beasts would even appear, eyeing them covetously. It could be said to be extremely dangerous. The officials of West Island made it clear that life and death were unpredictable here, and ordinary cultivators didn't dare to set foot here. However, these two people seemed quite relaxed and didn't take the warning seriously at all. There was no other reason. Their strength was enough to ignore this little danger, because one of them was the mysterious black-clothed man, and the other was the top master of the Spirit Beast clan, the new Azure Dragon. Except for Miss Luan, the immediate superior of the center, no matter where the mysterious black-clothed man appeared, he was absolutely arrogant and domineering, and had never lowered his head to anyone. However, this time he was willing to sit next to Azure Dragon, and his tone sounded a little humble. Since the mysterious black-clothed man treated him like this, it showed the terrible strength of the new Azure Dragon. After all, he was the top master of the Spirit Beast clan, and nominally he was on the same level as Vermilion Bird. One was a member of the center, and the other was the top elder of the Spirit Beast clan. If people knew that the two of them would meet in such a place, it would definitely cause an uproar. However, since they chose such a place, naturally they couldn't be easily discovered. Even those old monsters in West Island who didn't come into the world couldn't find out a little bit. No one knew what the two of them said, but judging from the atmosphere of drinking and drinking, both of them seemed to be quite satisfied with this first meeting. No one knew whether they reached some kind of cooperation or formed some kind of alliance. No one knew all this. Except for themselves, no third party would know. If someone accidentally heard a word or two, needless to say, they would definitely be thrown into the sea to feed the sea beasts, and it was impossible for them to live to the next day. The next day, the wharf of West Island was full of people, and the huge treasure ship with the logo of the 3 pavilions of North Island docked steadily on the edge of the wharf. After staying in West Island for 2 months, it was finally time for the delegation from North Island to go home. The treasure ship's warehouse had been filled with the gifts from West Island, and a group of disciples from North Island had boarded the ship one after another. Lan Tiefu and Gong Yangjie were still very low-key, quietly mingling in the crowd. At this moment, the happiest ones were Kong Xiaoming and Su Lingchong. From the moment they stepped on the ship, their nerves that had been stretched taut for a long time could finally relax. For the past few days, they had been living in fear every day, and no one could withstand such a brutal mental pressure. They simply couldn't breathe under the pressure. If they didn't become mentally ill, they would have to praise their perseverance. What they didn't know was that they were purely wasting their feelings. Ning Shangling had ordered the disciples from West Island not to take action without permission. After all, as the host, they should have the bearing of a host. Otherwise, without this order, they would have been torn into pieces by the indignant disciples of West Island. It was useless to hide in the envoy's mansion because they had to die. On the deck of the wharf, Lin Yi was saying goodbye to Shanghai Laner and others. Although he was the special envoy of North Island, personally appointed by Shanghai Tianhua, he was now the future Fuma of West Island. Before he sent Ning Xuefei to Dongzhou College according to Ning Shangling's order, he couldn't go back to North Island alone without permission. Little junior brother, don't worry. I'll take good care of Jingjing and wait for you to come back. You can stay with Feifei with peace of mind. Shanghai Laner patted her chest and promised. This time, although Lin Yi didn't go back to North Island, she had Han Jingjing by her side. After all, Lin Yi would accompany Ning Xuefei to Dongzhou College, soon in West Island. Then, Han Jingjing could only stay here alone. With her personality of a scientific research nerd, Lin Yi didn't feel at ease leaving her alone, so he simply suggested that she go to North Island with Shanghai Laner first, so they could keep each other company. Han Jingjing didn't have any objection to this. It was really meaningless for her to stay in West Island alone, and her research could also be done in North Island. After all, what Ning Xuefei could customize in West Island, Shanghai Laner could also do in North Island. Even though Si Haishao was once beaten into a fool by Shanghai Tianhua's men in public, as long as Shanghai Laner said something, he, as the manager of the branch of the Central Chamber of Commerce, would never dare to disobey. Unless the Central Chamber of Commerce didn't want to stay in North Island anymore, they could only try their best to please Shanghai Tianhua. After all, they lived under the same roof. I'm not worried about this, but Lan you'll have trouble when you go back. If you don't pack up a research room quickly, Jingjing won't be able to stay here for long, Lin Yi said with a smile. How many times have I told you to call me senior sister? Shanghai Laner patted Lin Yi's head with a serious look, then turned to look at Han Jingjing. She rolled her eyes and said, As for the research room, why don't I discuss with Grandpa and renovate his study? Anyway, it's quite big. Effed. Lin Yi suddenly burst into laughter. He looked at her speechlessly and said, If you really do that, I guess Cabinet Master Shengguan will have to put down his identity and PK with you in real life. I don't care. If he wants me to let go of his study, then he has to be responsible for making a big research room for us. Jingjing, am I right? Shanghai Laner smiled proudly, and the little curly bear next to her also swaggered around, looking like he was going to defeat Shanghai Tianhua, which really made Lin Yi speechless. Han Jingjing pursed her lips and smiled. She walked over and gave Lin Yi a sweet hug. She whispered in his ear, Brother Lin Yi, come back soon. Jingjing is waiting for you in North Island, hee. Don't worry, I'll come back to you after I send Feifei home. Lin Yi smiled and hugged her. To be honest, this girl seemed to have put on a little weight recently, and it was very comfortable to hold her chubby body. At this time, Han Jingjing didn't feel anything, but Shanghai Laner blushed. She pulled Han Jingjing over and complained in a low voice, Jingjing, you're so bad. What should I do if you hug my junior brother like this? Do you want me to hug him too? It's so embarrassing with so many people watching. It's just a hug. It doesn't matter, Han Jingjing said with a smile. I don't dare. After all, Shangguan I was not from the secular world. Although she was usually careless, she was still very shy at this time. If there were no one around, it would not be a big deal, but there were so many people watching. Chapter 47:61. Everyone suddenly looked at each other speechlessly. This girl was getting weirder and weirder. Hui Yudi, who came to see them off, couldn't help but say, "What about me?" "Sister Hua, you can hug little junior brother. When we leave, you can hug him as long as you want. As long as you can win Fei Fei." Shanghai Laner smiled and hugged her again. Her words made Huyuri blush and blame her again and again. In the end, when everyone was reluctant to say goodbye, the giant treasure ship blew the last horn of departure. Shanghai Laner and Han Jingjing boarded the treasure ship and desperately waved goodbye to Lin Yi and others. "See you later." Ning Xuefei and Huyuri also waved desperately. The two women's eyes were red and they were about to cry. Although Shanghai Laner was being funny, parting was not a happy thing after all. Especially they were like sisters. After this separation, they didn't know when they would see each other again. "Don't worry. I will definitely let you get together in the future. I promise." Lin Yi comforted them softly. "Okay." Ning Xuefei and Hui Yudi nodded heavily at the same time. After looking at each other, they looked at Lin Yi and suddenly smiled through tears at the same time. Suddenly, Lin Yi was puzzled. What was going on? The world of girls was really difficult to understand. After the North Island, the fleet of South Continent left immediately. Of course, this fleet referred to the fleet brought by Qi Wenhan and Xia Luoluo. As for the new Azure Dragon of the Spirit Beast clan, although he was also from South Continent, he was obviously not on the same side as them and had already left first. Qi Wenhan and Xia Luoluo were leaving, so Lin Yi naturally had to see them off. This time, Ning Xuefei and Hui Yuri also came together. Although they had met several times during this period, they didn't talk much. Since they were good brothers of Lin Yi, of course, they had to keep in touch with each other. After all, they would be in the same camp in the future. Unlike the North Island, which only had one giant treasure ship, the South Continent's fleet used 3 treasure ships this time, which filled the large West Island pier. When Lin Yi and others found Qi Wenhan and Xia Luoluo in the vast crowd, a group of South Continent's crew was busy carrying goods, and the scene seemed to be in full swing. This time, they didn't just come to celebrate. At the same time, they also came with the commission of various chambers of commerce in the South Continent to buy various kinds of West Island specialties. It seemed that the 3 treasure ships were about to be full. Haha, as expected of the Boat King, sending out 3 treasured ships at once. I really can't think of anyone who could be so generous. Lin Yi brought the 2 girls to Qi Wenhan's side and said with a smile, In terms of models, each of the 3 treasure ships was much smaller than the one on the northern island, but they were all medium-sized. Moreover, the sight of the 3 treasure ships lined up together was truly shocking. Brother Ling, Qi Wenhan, and Xia Luoluo greeted him with a smile. Then they realized that Ning Xuefei and Hui Yuri had also come. They were instantly flattered and hurriedly bowed to them. Ning Xuefei and Hui Yuri respectfully returned the greeting. Because they weren't too familiar with Qi Wenhan, the 2 of them had the appearance of a lady from a respectable family. They had received this kind of education since they were young. In addition, their looks and temperament were 1 in a million. Although their graceful bearing wasn't as natural as Ning Shangling's, it was enough to stun everyone present. Qi Wenhan couldn't help but secretly give Lin a thumbs up. Even a random woman by his side was so beautiful and enviable. His brother was really a man's role model. You're going back to the South Continent soon. I don't know when we can meet again, so I have to ask you to bring your engagement gifts first. Otherwise, it won't be right if you don't get the gifts when the time comes, Lin Yi said with a smile. Engagement? Qi Wenhan was stunned. During this period of time, he had only cared about sticking to Xia Luoluo like glue. He really hadn't thought about this seriously. This was a big deal, but although Xia Luoluo had agreed, the Xia family might not be so easy to deal with. Xia Luoluo's pretty face instantly blushed. She was lovely and charming, and the space between her brows was full of shyness and happiness. Of course, this kind of happy event should be done sooner rather than later. Brother Chi, don't tell me you want to waste Miss Xia's time like this. You're too heartless, aren't you? Lin Yi looked at him mischievously, then took out an exquisite wooden box from his bosom. He had asked Ning Xuefei to find it. The miniature map of the South Continent was engraved with a big happiness character. It was not only grand, but also festive. Brother Ling, I still haven't thought of what to do. It won't be easy to get past the Xia family. Qi Wenhan smiled bitterly and shook his head. Although he didn't know what was inside the box, since it was an engagement gift, he would not refuse it. After all, this was Lin Yi's kind intentions. Xia Luoluo's expression was somewhat complicated. Even though she was very willing to be with Qi Wenhan, she was not alone. Protecting the family's interests was the first principle that had been instilled in her mind since she was young. If Qi Wenhan could not satisfy the Xia family, especially if her father gave his approval, this matter would be as difficult as ascending to the heavens. There's no rush. Let's take a look at the gift first. Lin Yi smiled. Qi Wenhan and Xia Luluo couldn't help but stare blankly. From their point of view, opening someone else's gift in front of them was a very rude thing to do. However, under the urging of Lin Yi's gaze, they still opened the box. 2 pills that were faintly flickering with electricity came into view. Thunder Profound pills. Qi Wenhan and Xia Luoluo instantly cried out involuntarily. Fortunately, their reactions were fast enough to cover their mouths in time. Otherwise, other passers-by would have heard them. This time, Xia Luoluo was completely shocked. Her eyes flashed with a look of disbelief. She covered her mouth, unable to speak for a long time. The last time Lin Yi had given her a golden condensed nascent soul pill was already shocking enough. She didn't think that this time it would be even more exaggerated. He had directly given her a 7th grade Thunder Profound pill, and 2 of them at that. Previously, it was a golden condensed nascent soul pill that could guarantee a nascent soul. Now, it was followed by 2 Thunder Profound pills. If she had not personally experienced it, Xia Luoluo would never have imagined that such a bold man could exist under the heavens. Compared to this person, the so-called super geniuses of her family were not even worth mentioning. They would only make a fool of themselves. Brother Ling, this. Qi Wenhan choked for a long time before he weakly asked in a low voice, "Did you refine these yourself?" If he didn't know that Lin Yi had just obtained a Thunder Profound vine, even he wouldn't dare believe that Lin Yi could refine Thunder Profound pills. After all, an existence like a 7th grade alchemist could not be found in the entire South Continent, other than the Spirit Beast clan and all the other human cultivators' territories. You're tuning in to the Thunder Spear YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.